Trial resumed. Jury not present.
The court said, "Good morning."
All counsel said, "Good morning, Your Honor."
The court said, "Would you make your appearances, please?"
Mr. Ferguson said, "Good morning, Your Honor." Micah Ferguson, Juliana Murray, Ryan Finkel, and Justin Horton for the government. And were joined at counsel table by paralegals Isabel Loftus and Jeffrey Mearns.
Mr. Skirrick said, "Good morning, Your Honor." Scott Skirrick on behalf of Mr. Guo. I'm joined at counsel's table by Sabrina Shroff, Mr. Kumraju, and Mr. Barkin, together with Mr. Guo.
The court said, "Please be seated. Is there anything the parties would like to raise before we start witness testimony?"
Mr. Ferguson said, "Your Honor. Just a point I had raised last week, I can't remember which day, on the binders of the large summary chart for the jury and the court. Would it be all right with Your Honor if, before 9:30? We place the binders underneath the chairs and then just, once it's in evidence, we'll ask them to pick it up from under their chairs?"
The court said, "That's fine."
Mr. Ferguson said, "Thank you, Your Honor."
Mr. Skirrick said, "Nothing from the defense, Your Honor." Thanks.
The court said, "All righty. So at about 9:29, if you'll have the witness on the stand."
Mr. Ferguson said, "Yes, Your Honor."
The court said, "Thank you."
Recess. Continued on next page. Jury present.
The court said, "Please be seated. Good morning, jurors."
The juror said, "Good morning."
The court said, "Welcome back. The prosecution may call its next witness."
Mr. Ferguson said, "Thank you, Your Honor." The government calls Shamel Medrano.
The witness said, "Good morning, Your Honor."
The law clerk said, "Mr. Medrano, please raise your right hand."
Witness sworn.
The court said, "Please state your name and spell it."
The witness said, Shamel Medrano. Shamel Medrano.
The court said, "You may inquire."
Mr. Ferguson said, "Thank you, Your Honor."
Shamel Medrano, called as a witness by the government, having been duly sworn, testified as follows. Direct examination. By Mr. Ferguson.
Good morning, Mr. Medrano.
Good morning.
Where do you work?
I work at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York.
What's your position at the U.S. Attorney's Office?
I'm an investigative analyst.
What are some of your duties and responsibilities as an investigative analyst at the U.S. Attorney's Office?
Some of my duties, I assist with social media analysis.
The law clerk said, "Mr. Medrano, if you could pull the microphone closer to you and speak up."
The witness said, "Of course, yes."
The law clerk said, "Thank you."
So my duties include assisting with social media analysis. I analyze phones, also business records. It varies on the nature of the case.
How long have you been an investigative analyst at the U.S. Attorney's Office?
4.5 to 5 years, approximately.
What did you do before that?
I was an intelligence analyst at the Bronx District Attorney's Office.
How long were you an intelligence analyst at the Bronx District Attorney's Office?
2.5 to 3 years.
Now, Mr. Medrano, besides your testimony today and preparation for this testimony, what involvement did you have in this case?
I assisted in preserving some open-source social media and open-source web pages.
How did you preserve those things from the internet?
Depending on the type of material, so I used a snipping tool. I also used a video downloader. And I used a sort of single-file HTML preservation tool.
And Mr. Medrano, I just ask, the acoustics can be a little difficult to hear if you can. Just pull the mic as close as you can.
Yes.
And speak as clearly into it as you can.
Sorry. I'll scoot up.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Medrano, did you decide what to preserve from the internet?
No.
Did you make any investigative step decisions in this case?
No.
Who made those decisions?
The prosecutors.
And who asked you to preserve those things from the internet?
The prosecutors.
Am I one of those prosecutors?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Medrano, In advance of your testimony, were you asked to review certain government exhibits and help summarize the information in them?
Yes.
Did you help prepare or review for accuracy some summary charts?
Yes.
Are the charts all based on voluminous records?
Yes.
What type or types of exhibits are the charts based on?
They're social media exhibits. There's also web pages that come from web addresses. And there's some videos too.
And who decided which exhibits you reviewed and what information to include on the charts?
The prosecutors.
Were you provided the opportunity to make revisions to the charts to make sure they were accurate?
Yes.
Did you make revisions to the charts?
Yes, I did.
And after you revised the charts, are they now all accurate?
Yes.
And again, just to be clear, did you review all the evidence gathered in this case or just the charts and exhibits those charts are based on?
Just the charts and the exhibits the charts are based off of.
And who selected the exhibits that went into the chart?
The prosecutors.
And who selected the information from those exhibits that went into the chart?
The prosecutors.
Did you have any say in that at all?
No.
Fair to say you just confirmed the charts are accurate?
Correct. Mr. Skirik said, objection.
Mr. Ferguson said, Your Honor, at this time.
The court said, 1 moment. The objection is overruled.
Mr. Ferguson said, Your Honor. At this time, the government will offer a few stipulations between the parties that are marked as government exhibits. It offers Government Exhibit Stip 8, STIP 8, and it offers Government Exhibit Stip 11 and Stip 12.
The court said, they are admitted.
Government's Exhibit Stip 8, Stip 11, Stip 12 received in evidence.
Mr. Ferguson said, All right. Now, Ms. Loftus, if we could pull up a few of the stipulations, just briefly. We'll start with Government Exhibit Stip 2, which is in evidence. And we can publish it if it's not already. I'll just read the intro. It's hereby stipulated and agreed by the parties that, in the below chart, columns A, B, and C accurately list the following information. The government exhibits listed in column A are authentic copies of web pages that were preserved from the internet. If a web page contained a video that was also preserved, the associated video is designated with a V in the government exhibit name. For example, GXC20 is a preservation of a web page, and GXC20V is a preservation of the video that was on that web page. Column B in the chart lists the web address, or URL, of the web page that was preserved. And column C lists the date on which the web page was preserved. Ms. Loftus, I'll just ask if you could just scroll for a few pages, just to give some sense. And maybe we can scroll all the way to the bottom.
By Mr. Ferguson.
Mr. Medrano, are you able to see how many pages this stipulation is?
Yes.
How many pages?
25.
Mr. Ferguson said, Okay. Let's go to the next stipulation. Ms. Loftus, if we could please publish Government Exhibit Stip 8. All right. And this is a stipulation regarding documents. And that's now in evidence. And if you could scroll down, Ms. Loftus. I'll just read the intro. It is hereby stipulated and agreed between the parties that the exhibits listed below in column B were lawfully obtained by the government and are authentic records of the entity listed in column A, that were made at or near the time by, or from information transmitted by, a person with knowledge of the matters set forth in the records. Such records were kept in the course of a regularly conducted activity. And it was the regular practice of that entity to make the records. And Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down. And that's good. Just up slightly.
By Mr. Ferguson.
And at the very top there, Mr. Medrano, do you see one of them as Getter USA Incorporated?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, Okay. Let's go to the next stipulation, Ms. Loftus. Let's please show Government Exhibit Stip 9. All right. And this is a stipulation regarding translations of GXC exhibits. It's agreed between the parties that in the below chart, The exhibits listed under column A contain audio or text in a foreign language. In the below chart, the exhibits listed under column B are true and accurate translations of the audio or text contained in the exhibits listed under column A.
By Mr. Ferguson.
And Mr. Medrano, do you see that the exhibits in column B just add a T to the exhibits listed in A?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to step 11, please, Ms. Loftus. All right. Now I won't read this one, but this is another stipulation. If we could scroll up slightly, Ms. Loftus. Sorry. This is another stipulation regarding translations, this time of GXW and GXGTR exhibits. And Ms. Loftus. If we could please go now to step 12. Okay. Now this says it is hereby, this is a stipulation regarding video clips. It is hereby stipulated and agreed between the parties that in the below chart, columns A, B, C, and D accurately list the following information, and I'll actually ask, if you could, I'll read the intro. But if you could scroll down so we can see the chart. Perfect. In the below chart, I'm sorry. I read that one. The government exhibits listed in column A are authentic copies of full-length videos that were preserved from the internet. The government exhibits listed in column B are authentic copies of portions, video clips, of the government exhibits listed in column A. Column C lists the timestamps of the video clips listed in column B. And the government exhibits listed in column D contain accurate translations of the audio from the video clips listed in column B. And if we could scroll for just a couple pages. Thank you, Ms. Loftus. And we can take that down. Now, Your Honor. At this time, those stipulations were for authentication. At this time I'm going to move for the admission of a lengthy list of exhibits. If I may approach. I have a printed copy for the court to follow along.
The court said, okay.
Mr. Ferguson said, okay. The government now moves to admit the following exhibits from the GXW series. These are all W exhibits, 5, 5V, 49, 68, 115, 115V, 116, and 122, 123, 123V, 124, 160, 162, 164, 164T, 165, 167, 171, 175, 177, 180, 183, 184. And this actually is 185 through 187. 189 and 190, 193, 198 through 201, 207, and then 1020, 1020V, 1020T, 1021, 1021V, 1021T, 1024, 1024TX, 1024V1. All right. Now I have several exhibits that are C exhibits, GXC exhibits. 6TX, 6V1, 6V2, and also just 6, 20, 20TX, 20V1, 20V2, 40, 40V, 43. 43TX, 43V1, 43V8, so 43V1 through 43V8, 55, 55V, 56, 56V, 63TX, 63V1 through V7, and also just GXC 63, GXC 105, 110, 110TX, 110V1, 121, and 121V, 122. 122V, 123, 123V. With apologies for going out of order, I had actually skipped over one, which is GXC 120 and 120V. Next is 131. 143 and 143T, 145 and 145T, 146 and 146TX, and 146V1 and V2, 148, 148TX, 148V1 through V5, 151.
The court said, are you seeking to admit 148V?
Mr. Ferguson said, I'm actually not, Your Honor.
The court said, okay. All right.
Mr. Ferguson said, I think that was included mistakenly. 151, 160, 160V, 161, and 161TX, 161V1 through V5, 205 and 205V, 210 and 210V, 211 and 211V. 212 and 212V, 220, 220TX, 220V1, 221 and 221V, 252, 252E, 253, 253V, 255, 255V, 257, 257V, 260 through 265 and then 265V, 266 through 270, and then 270V, 271, 272, 272V, 273, 274, 275, 275V, 276. 280, 280V, 281, 281V, 300, 300V, 301, 301V, 302, 302TX, 302V1 through V16, so 302V1 through 302V16, 310 through 314, 320, 321, 321TX, 321V1 through V6, 322, 322TX, 322V1 through V9, 351. 351V, 370, 370V, 371, 371V1, 373, 374, 402, 404 through 406, and 406V, 410, 411, 411V, 412 through 419, 422, 423, 423V, 424 through 426, 428, 429, 429V, 430 through 432, 432V, 433 through 436, 438 through 440, 442, 442V, 443 through 445, and 445V, 446. 459, 459T, 459V1 through V3, 461, 461V, 462, 463, 463V, 464, 480, 481, 483, 484, 484A, 491, 491V, 500, 500TX, 500V1, 501, 501TX, 501V1, 502. 502TX, 502V1 through V24, 503, 503TX, 503V1 through V4, 504, 504TX, 504V1 through V13, 505, 505V, 505T, 506, 506TX, 506V1 through V6, 510, 510TX, 510V1 through V11, 511, 511A, 511TX, 511V1 through V7. That ends the C series. Now I have just a few more exhibits. These are the GTR series, GX GTR 1, 5, 8, 9, 10 through 17, 23, 26, 27, 27T, and 28. And that's all.
Mr. Skirik said, no objection.
The court said, so they are all admitted.
Government's exhibits W5, W5V, W49, W68, W115, W115V, W116, W122, W123, W123V, W124, W160, W162, W164, W164T, W165, W167, W171, W175, W177, W180, W183, W184, W185 through W187, W189, W190, W193, W198 through W201, W207, W1020, W1020V, W1020T, W1021, W1021V, W1021T, W1024, W1024, TX, W1024V1 received in evidence. Government's exhibits C6, TX, C6V1, C6V, C6, C20, C20, TX, C20V1, C20V2, C40, C40V, C43, C43, TX, C43V1, C40 through C40V8, C43V1 through C43V8, C55, C55V, C56, C56V, C63, TX, C63V1 through C63, V7, C63, C105, C110, C110TX, C110V1, C121, C121V, C122, C122V, C123, C123V received in evidence. Government's Exhibits C120 and C120V received in evidence. Government's Exhibits C131, C143, C143, T, C145, C145, T, C146, C146, TX, C146V1, C146V2, C148, C148, TX, C148V1 through C148V5, C151 received in evidence. Government's Exhibits C160, C160V, C161, C161, TX, C161V1 through C161V5, C205, C205V, C210, C210V, C211, C211V, C212, C212V, C220, C220, TX, C220V1, C221, C221, V, C252, C252V, C253, C253V, C255, C255V, C257, C257V, C260 through C265, C265V, C266 through C270, C270V, C271, C272, C272V, C273, C274, C275, C275V, C276, C280, C280V, C281, C281V, C300, C300V, C301, C301V, C302, C302, TX, C302V1 through C302, V16, C302V1 through C302, V16, C310 through C314, C320, C321, C321, TX, C321V1 through C321V6, C322, C322, TX, C322V1 through C322, V9, C351, C351V, C370, C370V, C371, C371, V1, C373, C374, C402, C404 through C406, C406V, C410, C411, C411V, C412 through C419, C422, C423, C423V, C424 through C426, C428, C429, C429V, C430 through C432, C432V, C433 through C436, C438 through C440, C442, C442V, C443 through C445, C445V, C446 received in evidence. Government's Exhibits C459, C459T, C459V1 through C459V3, C461, C461V, C462, C463, C463V, C464, C480, C481, C483, C484, C484, A, C491, C491V, C500, C500TX, C500V1, C501, C501TX, C501V1, C502, C502TX, C502V1 through C502V24, C503, C503TX, C503V1 through C503V4, C504, C504TX, C504V1 through C504V13, C505, C505V, C505T, C506, C506TX, C506V1 through C506V6, C510, C510TX, C510V1 through C510V11, C511, C511A, C511TX, C511V1 through C511V7 received in evidence. Government's exhibits GTR1, GTR5, GTR8, GTR9, GTR10 through GTR17, GTR23, GTR26, GTR27, GTR27T, GTR28 received in evidence.
Mr. Ferguson said, "Thank you, Your Honor."
By Mr. Ferguson.
Okay. Mr. Medrano, you said you prepared some summary charts, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, "Ms. Loftus, to start, if we could show Mr. Medrano GXZ11, please." All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, is this one of the charts?
Yes.
Did you review all the exhibits this chart is based on?
Yes.
Is this chart accurate?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, "The government offers Government Exhibit Z11.
Mr. Skirek said, "No objection."
The court said, "It is admitted."
Government's Exhibit Z11 received in evidence.
Mr. Ferguson said, "Let's go to another one. Ms. Loftus, could we go to Z9, please? And just for the witness."
By Mr. Ferguson.
All right. Mr. Medrano, what's this exhibit?
This is GX, the exhibit on the summary chart, or...
This is another summary chart you reviewed?
Correct, yes.
Did you review all the exhibits this chart is based on?
Yes.
Is this chart accurate?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, "The government offers Z9.
Mr. Skirek said, "No objection."
The court said, "Admitted."
Government's Exhibit Z9 received in evidence.
Mr. Ferguson said, "And if we could publish, please, Ms. Loftus. And Your Honor, may we also publish the hard copy versions of this exhibit?"
The court said yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, "Ladies and gentlemen, if you look beneath your chairs, there's a binder that has Government Exhibit Z9. All right. Ms. Loftus, if we could zoom on the top with the perfect. Thank you."
By Mr. Ferguson.
All right. Mr. Medrano, generally speaking, what is in this chart?
So I'll start from the left to the right. So this chart is indicating as the date, the source. So the date indicating the date that the source that you find on the exhibit was sort of posted or published. So in this scenario it was April 18th, 2020, for that one. And you have the source, which is where it's coming from, so where? What web address it's being found from? Then it says selected content, which is what is being displayed from the source. So if you would go to that web address, some of what you would find there. And then the GX, which is the government exhibit that applies to that specific source.
And just generally speaking, what sorts of exhibits are included in this chart?
There's videos, there's web page preservations, there's videos. There's translations of the web pages and the videos. And there's also some search warrant material that was provided, I believe, from Getter.
Now in the selected content column, did you select this content, Mr. Medrano?
No.
Did you have any choice in what was included or not included in that column?
No.
Who did?
The prosecutors.
And in that column, the selected content, Mr. Medrano. Is it the full set of text from the government exhibit or just a selection of it?
It's a selection of it.
The court said, and by selection do you mean excerpt?
Mr. Ferguson said, yes. Oh, Mr. Medrano?
The witness said, correct, yes.
The court said, I wanted to understand what you were asking when you used the word.
Mr. Ferguson said, oh, that's correct, Your Honor.
The court said, go ahead.
Mr. Ferguson said, thank you.
By Mr. Ferguson.
All right. So Mr. Medrano, let's just look at this first example. What was the date?
April 18th, 2020.
And where was that date taken from for the selected content?
In the selected content, you'll see a screen, sort of a snip of what was the selected content. And there in the title you see it says Miles Guo with a date, says 20200418, and that's where the date was taken from.
And what domain was this taken from?
gnews.org.
And Mr. Medrano, do you have any independent knowledge about what gnews.org is?
No.
What was the? Mr. Ferguson said, and then, Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down slightly. Now, Mr. Medrano, you said this, focusing on the selected content. You described the image as a snip. What's the snip?
Sort of a capture of the full web page, but just a small excerpt of it.
And the text underneath that, where is that text taken from?
It's taken from the source.
From the web page?
From the web page, correct.
The court said by snip, do you mean a still photo?
The witness said, correct, like a snipping tool of the photo of the web.
The court said thank you.
And Mr. Medrano, I would just ask you to read, could you just read that first paragraph?
Yes. Until now, no one can understand the value and significance of GTV, Gnews, and the future. I can tell everyone to watch this place while walking. GTV and Gnews want all comrades to earn in the future. With money, earning the future, earning safety, earning wisdom, earning the dignity of the whole person. Earning a career and a platform. How can you get what you want without money?
Mr. Ferguson said, and if we could scroll up slightly, Ms. Loftus. This is GXW184?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, do we have W184? All right. And if we could publish that, please. All right. And Mr. Medrano, what are we looking at here?
It's an HTML preservation of the entire web page.
And who preserved this?
I preserved this.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, if we could just scroll down slightly. You can just scroll, keep scrolling. All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, the entire this text was not put in the chart, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Let's go back to the top, Ms. Loftus. Oh, I'm sorry. Just the top of that exhibit. And when you described a snip, Mr. Medrano, what portion of this was snipped?
The top portion, the portion where you see sort of the name of the web page, where it says Miles Guo 20200418. And right underneath it where you see the miles with sort of the V icon.
And the V icon, what's your understanding of what that means?
Based on, I believe meant to be verified.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Let's go back to Z9, Ms. Loftus, please. All right. And Mr. Medrano, are the entries in this chart, generally, in chronological order?
Yes.
How many pages is this chart?
209 pages.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down, or jump to page 206. All right. What's the date of this entry, Mr. Medrano?
March 5th, 2023.
Mr. Ferguson said, and if we go back to page 1, Ms. Loftus. What's the first entry?
April 18th, 2020.
So we go from April 2020 to March 2023?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. And Ms. Loftus. If we could scroll down just slightly on this page to the bottom right corner. Keep going. All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, do you see there's a number 1 on the bottom right?
Correct.
What is that?
The page number.
Okay. All right. Mr. Ferguson said, so Ms. Loftus, I'd like to jump ahead a little bit, and let's please go to page 61. And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you're welcome to follow along in hard copy. And if we could, okay. Could we scroll up slightly? All right. I want to go to GXC 302, Ms. Loftus. Okay. Great. Sorry. It's page 62.
By Mr. Ferguson.
All right. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
February 28, 2021.
And where was this posted?
On gtv.org.
And the image in the selected content, where is that image taken from?
From the video.
Now focusing you on the right-hand column, Mr. Medrano, what is that? That lists the GXs, right?
Yes.
Just the one that says 302. What is Government Exhibit 302?
That's the sort of the web page. So if you were to go to that web address, that is the page that web address would take you to.
And then the one beneath that, the V, what is the V?
The V is the video that was sort of found on that web address. That's the entirety of that video.
The full video?
The video, the full video, correct.
And then skipping down one, the V1 through V16, what are those exhibits?
Those are excerpts of the original video, so of 302.
These are video clips?
Correct.
Okay. And then right above that, the 302TX, what's that exhibit?
That's the translation of the video.
Of the video clips?
Correct.
All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, did some of the videos you reviewed have subtitles in them?
Yes.
Does this video have subtitles?
No.
What's your understanding of what language these videos are in?
I believe they're in Mandarin.
And how long were some of these videos?
Hours. 2 to 3 hours, even more.
Okay. Now I'm not going to go through all the excerpts here. Mr. Ferguson said, so Ms. Loftus, if we could just scroll to page 67. And I want to go to V15. Okay. And now, Ms. Loftus. If we could, I'll ask you to please pull up Government Exhibit V15 and play that, please. And could you turn the volume up, please?
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, okay. Now, Ms. Loftus, I'll ask you to you can put it on mute and we can play it again.
By Mr. Ferguson.
And Mr. Medrano, using your binder, could I ask you to please read the text underneath V15?
Yes.
The court said, okay, what page is that?
Mr. Ferguson said, this is page 67, Your Honor.
The court said, go ahead.
Let me tell you this again. There will never be a chance like the one that we have today, where you can be involved in GTV and Gcoin. You have my words. There won't be an opportunity like this ever again. Brother Seven has worked all his life. I know what politics is, I know what finance is. And I know what earning big money is. You won't even understand. You don't understand even when I explain it to you. Brothers and sisters, you have to trust Brother Seven. None of you will pay for this if you lost money. I'll be the one who pays for it. For the amount of money that you have invested in, to be honest with you. Any one of my houses is worth hundreds of millions of dollars for the ones that belong to our family, right? The stocks that our family controls now are worth hundreds of millions or billions of dollars in Japan, Taiwan, and European countries, and the funds I invest in are worth tens of billions of dollars, right? My best friends own their countries. What is Jack Ma to me? He's nothing to me. My best friend's underground is worth lots of money. Who are you? Right? I tell you what. From what Brother Seven has seen, you will never have this opportunity. Don't allow poverty drag down your IQ. Your EQ can be lowered, but not your IQ. You'll never have the opportunities like Gcoin and GTV.
All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, this was February 2021, right?
Correct.
So I want to go back towards the beginning of the chart and earlier in time. Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we could go to C26. I'm sorry. Page 2. And if we could, Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
April 20th, 2020.
And where was this download from?
From YouTube.
And looking at the text underneath the selected content, what's the first line?
When you see this video, it is not a public video.
Now, and this was downloaded from YouTube?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Now, Ms. Loftus, if we could pull up C26V, please. And before we do that, Mr. Medrano, did this video have subtitles in it?
Yes.
Could you read the subtitle on the page that's in the snip?
Yes. The first is Wang Yangping, who everyone knows.
Mr. Ferguson said, and let's play C26V, please, Ms. Loftus.
Video played. Continued on next page. By Mr. Ferguson.
Mr. Medrano, you said this video is April 2020, right?
Correct.
And the one we watched first was February 2021?
Correct.
The one we're watching now is about 10 months earlier, is that right?
That is right.
In the February 2021, what was said about risk?
That there was no risk.
And in this video, what did the speaker just say about risk?
I'm sorry.
That's okay, Mr. Medrano. Withdrawn. Ms. Loftus, we can keep playing the video.
Media played.
Mr. Ferguson said, pause please. Mr. Medrano, do you have any independent knowledge of who Max is?
No.
We can keep playing, Ms. Loftus.
Medica played.
All right. Ms. Loftus, we can pause this. Mr. Medrano, what does it say on the screen here?
This video is sent to you one by one.
And remind us, where was this preserved from?
YouTube.
And if we could go back to the chart, please, Ms. Loftus. And if we could scroll down slightly. And Mr. Medrano, could you just read the text under 933?
Yes. Private placement means that we are friends. I can introduce this project to you one-on-one. On several of you for investment. I can't do a lot of marketing in the media or large public media.
And, Ms. Loftus, if we can scroll down slightly. Mr. Medrano, could you just read the next excerpt? Please?
Originally we planned to set a threshold of $10,000 per head, but we had no choice but to adjust it. Adjust it to. There were so many people because the number of people is limited. The investing amount is not limited. We have adjusted the threshold to $100,000 from $10,000. But because of supporters of Rule of Law, Federation has a priority. We made an exception for some people by allowing them to invest in GTV even if they invested less than $100,000. But the right to decide and control is on us.
If you could read that next paragraph.
But this time we have rejected lots of its institutional investors which request to invest millions. Tens of millions and hundreds of millions USD. We mainly allowed our friends to invest this time, therefore. The quota is limited, and the entry threshold is unlimited from $100,000 to indefinite. Then I would also like our investor friends and fellow fighters to know that this company is registered in the US. GTV is a new company where the IPO time starts within 24 hours of you seeing the video.
This was April 20th, 2020, right, Mr. Medrano?
Correct.
Ms. Loftus, can we go to page 6, please? Focusing you on the entry on the screen, Mr. Medrano. What was the date of this entry on the chart?
June 2nd, 2020.
About a month and a half later?
Correct.
Where was this downloaded from?
From YouTube.
Ms. Loftus, I'll ask you to play V1. And after a few seconds, if you want to place it on mute. And Mr. Medrano, I would then ask you to read from your binder the excerpt under V1, please.
Yes.
Media played.
We had an initial evaluation of 200 million for GTV. And the private placement required a minimum investment of 20 million. The private placement exceeded the highest expectations and raised 350 million. This is up to now this. This figure is about 360 million, let's say 350 million. 350 million does not include the 117 million from VOG. If 117 plus 350 million, it's more than 480 million, which is almost 500 million, almost 500 million. But the figure we have now is 350 million received, which is just for the contracts with GTV. This turned out to be a conservative estimate and 17.5 times valuation. Given the tremendous demand for GTV shares and the good capital position of GTV going forward. My lawyers and financial experts mutually agree that a 2 billion valuation is probably too low. And that the actual value of the company is probably closer to 10 billion, given the tremendous demand for GTV shares. My fellow fighters, do you get the picture? Your stock has now gone from 20 million in the past to the actual amount of cash now 17.5 times. Excluding the 117 million of SARA, which is that of the VOG. If you add that, it should be close to 30 folds. That's between 27 to 30 folds. And, at the same time, this company has gone from 2 billion in the past to 10 billion.
Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, and if we could go to the next page, page 7. And no need to play the video. But, Mr. Medrano, could you please read the text under V4? Actually, you don't need to read all of it. Ms. Loftus, you can take that down. About in the middle of the paragraph starting at the same time, could you read from there on, please?
Yes. At the same time, as our fellow fighters know, our G-dollar and G-coin. This pre-sale of the whole system will also start immediately. And will be fully online and start running in 3.5 months from now. Then the stable coin issued by our Himalayan Federal Reserve, the HIFT, and the G-coin jointly used by our online. Our G-Fashion and G-News, GTV will be fully online. Within 3.5 months. Our G-News may enter the private placement stage. G-News, G-Fashion, G-Mall, G-Pay, G-Club and GTV will be fully operational within 3.5 to 4 months.
Ms. Loftus, I'll ask you to scroll down to the next page, please. And, Mr. Medrano, could you please read the text under V7?
Yes. In this GTV investment, I had a separate conversation with each investor. This is a serious and solemn commitment and responsibility of Wengu Guo to you. To be responsible for this investment forever, this is a legally valid commitment and attitude.
This was June 2nd, 2020, right?
Correct.
Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll to the next page, please, page 9. Mr. Medrano. Focusing you on what's on the screen, what's the entry of what's the date of this entry?
June 17th, 2020.
And where was this preserved from?
gtv.org.
Do you have any independent knowledge of what gtv.org is?
No.
And the photo in the selected content column, where did that photo come from or that image?
It's from the video.
Ms. Loftus, if we could play C2020 V1. Just play the whole thing.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, if you want to play that again on mute. And, Mr. Medrano, I'd ask you to read the text under V1 from your binder, please.
Yes. There are people who have issued shares today. Some have already started trading the shares. How much is it? Just now, 2 or 3 ago, a fellow fighter sold 10,000 shares, 10,000 shares. And a deal has been concluded for $18 a share, $18 per share. But our investment committee was not happy and wanted to buy them all back for $20.
Mr. Medrano, if the shares began at $1 and now they're $20, how many times have they increased?
20 times. Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, overruled. I assume that he can do arithmetic.
Mr. Skirik said, Foundation, Your Honor.
Let's jump ahead a little bit back to the chart. We can go to page 30, please, if we could scroll down. Mr. Medrano, focusing you on the entry on your screen, what's the date of this entry?
August 1st, 2020.
Where was this preserved from?
gtv.org.
Did this video have subtitles?
It did.
Now, Mr. Medrano, the text beneath this video in the selected content column. Where did that text come from?
From the video.
The subtitles?
Correct.
Now, before we play the video, could you read the text that's to the right of the date, please, in the snip?
Yes. Once the CCP's apps are all banned, it will be impossible for GTV and G News not to make money.
Could you please read the subtitle in the still image?
As for G Fashion, we will start right away at $100 billion.
And, Ms. Loftus, if we could start playing Government Exhibit C121V, please. I will ask you to jump to about 124 seconds and after we get going. That's good, Ms. Loftus.
Media played.
We can pause there. Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, please. We're going to scroll now to page 32, please. Mr. Medrano, the date of the last video was August 1st, 2020, right?
Correct.
What's the date of the entry on the screen?
August 2nd, 2020.
Where was this downloaded from?
From YouTube.
Are there subtitles on this video?
No.
Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down to page 33, please. If we could play C43V5. And we can put it on mute. And, Mr. Medrano, I'd ask you from your binder please to read the text under C43V5.
Media played.
Why is the Communist Party so afraid of us all of a sudden? Isn't it just watching us get rich? Isn't it just watching us make big money? He is scared. He doesn't want us to make money. He doesn't let our fellow fighters make so much money. How much is GTV? Of course. This is the law of the United States, with a market value of $2 billion. Now that it needs market transaction, it may reach $20 billion. G Fashion was $100 billion when it went public. Right? This is the law of the United States. If you want to make a little false something in the United States, then you are looking for death, so the Communist Party is afraid. G-Coin and G-Dollar changing mankind.
Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, please. If we could please go to page 61. I'm sorry, 62. Mr. Medrano, the first clip we played was from this video, right?
Correct.
Remind us the date?
February 28, 2021.
So we're about 10 months from that first video in April 2020, correct?
Yes.
Let's look at a few more clips from this video. Ms. Loftus, if you could scroll down to page 64, please. Up slightly, Ms. Loftus. I want to ask you, we don't need to play the video again, if you could scroll up again. Mr. Medrano, I'm going to ask you to read the text under V7. And please read the start of the second paragraph and go through, it's all on Brother 7 if we lose money?
Yes. Then our G News, our GTV, our G Fashion. And most importantly, all of human mankind have been heading toward a generation of cryptocurrency, virtual currency. Which you all have seen it. It all happened in such a short time. The future value of those is promising with their resource. Its predicted value and our scientific efficient and low-cost operation. First of all, I dare to say it here today that we will not lose a penny. Tell me, who does business and dare to share that you will not lose a penny? I can. It's all on Brother 7 if we lose money.
If we can scroll down slightly and focus you on V8. And, Ms. Loftus, why don't we play V8? And shortly after that, Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to start reading a portion of it. You can go ahead and play it with some sound, Ms. Loftus.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, why don't we play it again on mute? And, Mr. Medrano, from your binder. I'll ask you to please read the text, and you can start with the sentence that starts. There is not a chance that we will lose any money.
The court said, if you would appoint us to where exactly you are.
Mr. Ferguson said, yes, Your Honor. We're on page 64, I believe. Ms. Loftus, you want to pull up the chart quickly. It's the fourth line down, Your Honor, of the second paragraph under V8. Thank you, Ms. Loftus. Mr. Medrano, you can go ahead and read that through the end of the paragraph.
Yes. There's not a chance that we will lose any money. How can there be? For our fellow fighters. If you lost any money, Brother 7 will pay for it. Brother 7 will be on it. I can even write this down for you. If you lose any money, it be on Brother 7, and the profit will be yours. It's just a matter of how much you'll be making, and when you will be making those monies. It's a matter of time and profit amount.
Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, and if we can scroll down slightly to V10. Mr. Medrano. Could I ask you to please, under V10, could I just ask you to read the first sentence there?
Yes. Just with the investment of GTV, we managed to raise more than 400 million so far. And we haven't spent a penny of those.
Ms. Loftus, let's look at another video. Let's go to page 76 in the chart, please. Mr. Medrano. What's the date of this entry on the chart?
March 30th, 2021.
That's about a month later?
Correct.
Where was this preserved from?
gtv.org.
Are there subtitles in this video?
No.
Ms. Loftus, I ask you to scroll down to page 78 to 79. Mr. Medrano, I want to focus you on V4. And, Ms. Loftus. If we could please play Government Exhibit C161 V4.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, you can pause that. And, Mr. Medrano, if I could ask you to, underneath V4 in your binder. If you could please read the two paragraphs at the top of page 79. The first sentence should start. Currently it's scheduled as a yesterday. It's probably going to be 60 billion of investment.
Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, sustained. Are you asking him to read from currently?
Mr. Ferguson said, correct, Your Honor.
The court said, go ahead.
Currently it's scheduled as a yesterday. We know that it's probably going to be 60 billion of investment, 60 billion of assessment. I thought it was too high. So I just want to make it 20 billion. For the 40 billion, we'll make room for the second fundraising. If listed for 60 billion, there's still a long way to go. I think 20 billion is enough, comrades. Don't be too greedy. Okay? You shall leave some benefits for other comrades in arms. Because they will have room for rapid growth when they join in. If you have used up all 60 billion of it, all its value in the next 3 to 5 years, the value over the years will be used up. And these shares will be taken by you, which is not fair. You have already gotten rich already.
Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, please. If we could go to page 98, please. Mr. Medrano. The entry on page 98 here, what's the date of that entry?
It's May 30th, 2021.
And where was this posted?
On gnews.org.
In the snip, was this a video or an article?
This is an article.
And in the snip of the article, could you please read the headline?
Yes. Highlights of Mr. Miles Guo live broadcast on May 30th, 2021.
I'll just ask you to please read the first 3 sentences of the selected content.
Yes. The new GTV company will issue shares of $60 billion. The original fellow fighters investors will get 10 shares per $. Of investment. Don't be too greedy.
It says get 10 shares per $1, Mr. Medrano?
Correct.
Ms. Loftus, if we could now jump ahead again. Let's go to page 115, please. If we could scroll down to the other video. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
August 11th, 2021.
And where was it posted?
On YouTube.
I'm going to ask Ms. Loftus if you could please play V1. We'll go ahead and play it. And, Mr. Medrano. I'll ask you to read the text after that.
Media played.
Let's go back to page 115 on the chart. Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to read the text on this page, please.
Yes. Louis Vuitton is only worth 16.4 billion. You see. All these brands are around 20 billion, nothing too big, including Hermes, which is only 13 or 14 billion, nothing too big. Nearly any exceeded. Cartier is worth 15 billion. Remember that the total value of the top 10 brands is about 20 billion, generally 13 billion to 20 billion. Why are they so uniform? And then look at Chanel, it's 13.7 billion, which is close to 13 billion, right? These market values are all between 13 billion and 20 billion, the source of these top 10 brands. If you look at Hermes, it's only 11.9 billion. It's not as high. It's even less than Chanel. Did you notice it? Rolex is worth 7.8 billion, and which is about 8 billion rounding up, right? It's only worth 8 billion. Which is only 1/5 or 1/6 of our GTV in terms of market value.
Mr. Medrano, another arithmetic question. If $8 billion is 1/5 of the market value of GTV, what would that make the market value of GTV?
40 billion.
We're talking about GTV market value. Ms. Loftus, I want to go back in the chart and back in time. If we could please go to page 5. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
May 25, 2020.
Where was this posted?
On gnews.org.
And in the snip, what does it say to the left of the V icon?
Miles.
And, Mr. Medrano, is the text beneath that the whole text from the source or just an excerpt?
Just an excerpt.
Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down slightly. Keep going, please. So, Mr. Medrano, I'm going to ask you to read the bottom paragraph here, the one that starts, another one I want.
Yes. Another one I want to insert one in the middle. The Himalayan farm we are building now. I tell you that the Himalayan farm will never raise funds, will not raise funds. Will not reach out to comrades in arms, will only bring convenience to comrades and bring benefits. You stretch your hand, and this will always be remembered. This is the embassy of all of us in the world. It's now under construction. Warriors from all over the world are welcome to participate actively. We are writing a charter.
Ms. Loftus, can we go now to the bottom of page 28? Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
July 22nd, 2020.
Was this a video or an article?
This is a video.
Where was it posted?
On gnews.org.
Mr. Medrano, I don't know if we covered this before. Do you see underneath the image there's something in brackets?
Yes.
What is that?
That's sort of the timestamp of where this text on the bottom begins on the video.
Ms. Loftus, before we play the video, Mr. Medrano, could you read the text in the image to the right of the date?
Yes, contact local Himalayan farms.
And does this video have subtitles?
Yes.
Could you please read the subtitle in the image?
Yes. Thus a new way has been formed for the money.
Ms. Loftus, if we could please play Government Exhibit C40V.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, if you want to jump ahead to 256.
Media played.
You can pause this. Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, if we could scroll down slightly. Mr. Medrano, could I ask you to read a few sentences starting with, thus a new way in the third line there?
Yes. Thus a new way has been formed for the money, that is a cooperation method. You will sign a loan contract with the local farm with a 6% interest rate and equity given to you with the option of 3 to 5 years. Then you can ask for equity, interest or cash at any time. This method of cooperation is both legal and compliant. This will be implemented by each farm. GTV will not deal with any person individually. Instead, we will only sign contracts with local farms. It will be loans in this way. You will decide if you want equity or money. It's up to you.
Ms. Loftus, if we could now go to page 53. What's the date of this entry, Mr. Medrano?
September 20th, 2020.
Where was it posted?
On gnews.org.
Are there subtitles in this?
There are.
Could you first read in the image the text to the right of the September 20th, 2020 date?
Yes. The standards of the establishment of Himalayan farm.
Could you please read the subtitle in the still?
Yes. You can put your money here for a long time, even forever.
Ms. Loftus, if we could now play Government Exhibit C205V.
Media played.
Pause there. If we could just go back a couple of seconds, Ms. Loftus. Mr. Medrano. Do you have any personal knowledge of who Brother Changdao is?
No.
If we can keep playing, Ms. Loftus.
Media played.
You can stop it there. Let's go back to the chart, Ms. Loftus. If we could go now to page 70, please. If we could scroll down. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry in the chart?
March 11th, 2021.
And where was this posted?
On YouTube.
Does this video have subtitles?
It does not.
Ms. Loftus, if we could first play Government Exhibit C510V1, please.
Media played.
You can stop it there, Ms. Loftus. Can you go back to the chart? Mr. Medrano. I'll ask you to read the first two sentences of the first paragraph there, please.
Yes. Another thing is that I would like to make one more announcement to you. Comrades in arms must remember that from now on, if anyone sees anything about payment, you can't pay a penny if it did not have official video, voice statement and public account of Himalayan Alliance Committee and the Farms Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Medrano. Ms. Loftus, if we can scroll again to page 73 to 74. Mr. Medrano. The text here that starts, "That's all I have to say," could you please read that paragraph?
Yes. That's all I have to say in terms of that. As for the account transfer, the account number of GTV's loaning program and the first payment account will be sent to the Alliance Committee and Farms later, which are absolutely confidential. We have at least hundreds of accounts ready this time. If an account is closed, we will have another one open to back it up. We will fight this guerrilla. The account is sent to each farm on a one-to-one basis and the Alliance Committee on a one-to-one basis. After sending it to each comrade in arms, all the comrades in arms must remember that only the chairman of the Alliance Committee, the members, the farm leaders, the second in command, and the iron-blooded group of the Alliance Committee have the right to send this account. For those of you that have sent out the account, you are definitely someone that they are familiar with. If you have not confirmed the person who sent you the account number wouldn't count. After confirming the account number, it cannot be leaked out. You can remit money to this account. After the money is remitted, we will notify you once the money is received, and the transaction will be over. In the future, it will be transferred to you as the stock of the initial building of the company. And the stock that will give you for initial building of the company will also be similarly matched to in 1-20 and 1-10.
Mr. Medrano, there's a reference to the iron-blooded group. Do you know what that is?
No.
Now, Ms. Loftus, I want to go back in time again to earlier in the chart to page 13, please. If we can scroll down. Mr. Medrano, on page 13 here, what's the date of the chart entry shown on the screen?
June 20th, 2020.
And where was this posted?
On gtv.org.
Did this video have subtitles?
Yes.
I ask you to first read the caption to the right of the date in the image.
The Himalaya Independent Financial Ecosystem.
Can you read the subtitle in the image, please?
Yes. You're entitled to receive 10,000.
Ms. Loftus, if we could please play Government Exhibit C123V.
Media played.
We can stop there. If we could go back to the chart, Ms. Loftus, please. If we could scroll slightly. Mr. Medrano, I'm going to ask you to read the first excerpted text on the top of page 14, please.
Yes. You are entitled to receive 10,000 shares of G Fashion stock worth $1 per share. Why? Because when you purchase the G Club membership, G Club could serve as an investment company which will take $10,000 that I will lend you without any interest to buy the G Fashion stock worth $1 per share for you.
And this is June 2020, right, Mr. Medrano?
Correct.
Now what's the date of the entry here, Mr. Medrano?
July 22nd, 2020.
Where was this posted?
On gnews.org.
What's the caption on this video say?
Please don't send me more checks.
And could you read the subtitle in the image, please?
You become a shareholder of G Club immediately.
Ms. Loftus, I'll ask you to please play Government Exhibit C212V. We'll play about 2.5 minutes.
Media played.
You can stop there. Ms. Loftus, if we could jump ahead, we'll play to about 5:27 seconds in. We'll play about 20 seconds or so.
Media played.
You can pause there. We can actually keep playing.
Media played.
We can pause there. If we could go back to the chart, Ms. Loftus, please. If we could scroll down slightly, please. Mr. Medrano, could you please read the text under 613?
Yes. Please keep this in mind about the money that you either go and buy G Club membership or sign a loan contract with a Himalaya farm and join GTV.
If we could go back to the video, please, Ms. Loftus, and we'll go about 7:50 in. And we'll play maybe 45 seconds or so.
Media played.
We can pause there. Ms. Loftus, if we could go back to the chart, please, to page 30. If you can scroll up, please.
Media played.
Mr. Medrano, could I ask you to please read the text under 812?
Yes. So my brother-in-arms, I don't need money. Game is over if you see a asking for you for money. No hope of taking down the CCP. What I want is the love from my brother-in-arms. Let brother-in-arms be connected and united. I hope all our investors would soon become billionaires and another 10,000 more investors come and they become billionaires too. And if 1 million more come, we will have 1 million more billionaires. Isn't our new federal state of China so great?
Ms. Loftus, I want to go to page 57, please. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of the entry on page 57?
October 13th, 2020.
Where was this posted?
On gtv.org.
Focusing on the still image, what does it say at the top center of the still image?
G Clubs.
Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to just read, please, the first paragraph under V1?
Yes. Dear brothers and sisters, today is October 13th. 1 week today this is a live broadcast about the launch of G Club and G Fashion and some statements that have been before the launch.
We can scroll down to V3. Mr. Medrano, can you read just the first sentence under V3?
Now what am I talking about in front of a bunch of lawyers?
And if we could go now to the bottom of page 58 and focus on V5. Ms. Loftus, I'll ask you to please play V5.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, why don't we restart this and put it on mute? Mr. Medrano, I'm going to ask you to read the text under V5. We're not going to read every single line. But I'll let you know when to stop.
Yes. G Club members will also be invited to the G Summit annual conference. Have early access to selected G music songs and videos. And have access to the functions of delayed live broadcast on social media platforms in the future. These are the member benefits at the preliminary launch. And there will be other benefits and services included in the future which will be published on G Club's websites. To put it bluntly, this is all nonsense. I'll be straightforward with you. This is what we need to have to legally avoid Me Too, but don't think that we are being mingy here. This is no other way. We'd have to have that, but I don't think you'd buy G Club for something like the free music. If you were, why would you buy it, right? My suggestion would be, don't buy it. But this procedure laws measures that benefit. Me Too have been there. To prevent economic Me Too. All of which are published on the websites. Under the revised launch plan for G Clubs, however, Members will not thereby have opportunity to subscribe for or purchase any shares to be issued in the future. Will not receive GTV stock and will not receive loans to purchase memberships. This is serious business, brothers and sisters. Even if you have brought G Club, it absolutely will not come with the stocks. It does not mean that you can buy stocks of G Fashion and GTV. And it does not mean that you will be able to receive loans in the future. No. No. No.
We can pause there. All right. Now, this no. No. No video, can you remind us the date of this video? Mr. Medrano?
Yes, October 13th, 2020.
Ms. Loftus, let's go back to the chart, and let's go to page 61, please. I have this wrong. It's 62. Now. Mr. Medrano, this entry is February 28, 2021, right?
Correct.
That's about 4 months after the no. No. No stocks video we just watched?
Yes.
Let's please scroll to page 66, Ms. Loftus. Mr. Medrano, the text here. This is from the same February 2021 video, right?
Yes.
I want to focus you on the text underneath V12, and specifically on the bottom paragraph. And I'll ask you to read about the middle of that paragraph, the sentence starting, in terms of G Fashion.
In terms of G Fashion, all of us understand it. As long as you purchase the membership, you'll certainly be the original shareholders. Regardless the amount that you purchase, you will definitely be the original shareholders for G Fashion fellow fighters.
We can pause there. Let's go to page 101. What's the date of this entry on the chart, Mr. Medrano?
June 23, 2021.
So this is about 4 months after the video we just watched?
Yes.
Or just read from. And it's about 8 months after the October 2020 no video?
Yes.
Let's go to, on page 101, Ms. Loftus, why don't we play V2? Ms. Loftus. We can put it on mute after a few seconds. And then, Mr. Medrano. I'm going to ask you to read the first 2 paragraphs under V2?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Mr. Ferguson said, just for the record, this is Government Exhibit C504V2.
Media played.
Okay. Today I saw that someone just sent a message and Brother 7 didn't understand. Let me take a look at the message that the fellow fighter sent. It's sent by William Wang. Let me read it. Good news, Brother 7 just announced. I didn't make an announcement. All the loans and investment that fellow fighters invested in the past no longer need to share interest with the farms. The issue share for each fellow fighter who have made an investment are in 1 to 10. Second, all G Club cardholders are entitled to 1 to 10 of the new GTV stocks for the amount of the card. How come it's in this color? It looks so awkward. All G Club cardholders are entitled to 1 to 10 of the new GTV stock for the amount of the card. Third, all of those who bought the Apple Store reward coin G1 at the beginning are also entitled to 1 to 10 shares of the new GTV in accordance with the amount bought. William Wang got the core information because the woman he slept in a bed with is named Tang Ping, a member of the Iron Blood group. So you see, this Tang Ping is leaking out information, right? Just kidding. This is public information. And what is said is right. I'm going to give you a little bit more information today. That is, the money that was invested in GTV from day one. Whether it was G1 or G dollar or all of the original Phoenix Farms or VOG or the loaning program or the membership purchase. As long as you've invested a penny out of your pocket, you invested $1 out of your pocket. You'll own 10 shares of the new GTV stock. It's that good. It's that awesome. All the things that were said in the past will be cashed out for you this time.
Ms. Loftus, we can go back to the chart. We can scroll down to page 103. Mr. Medrano, this text here. This is from that same June 2021 video, right?
Yes.
That's about 8 months after the no stocks video?
Yes.
Could you please read the text under V6?
Yes. Why does the G Club give these shares to the fellow fighters? Because I want them to be rich. I want them to never lower their heads for money. Never kneel in front of others.
Let's go down to page 4, the last paragraph under V7, if you could please read that, Mr. Medrano.
Yes. G Club. A card of Global Pass with unlimited future hopes to buy G Fashion at a 50% discount. You also have stocks in 110. Not 1:1. I have never seen such a good deal happen in my life until today.
Ms. Loftus, let's go down to page 115 in the chart. And what's the date of this video?
July 30th, 2021.
Where was it posted?
gtv.org.
This is about a month after the one we were just watching?
Correct.
Are there subtitles in it?
There are not.
Can we please play Government Exhibit C506V5, and we're going to go to pages 114 to 115? You can play it with some sound first.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, why don't we restart and put it on mute?
The court said. It's now 11:30, so it's time for us to have our half-hour break. Members of the jury, remember that you're not permitted to discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. Don't permit anyone to discuss the case in your presence. And remember, you cannot do any form of research about the case. You cannot listen to any form of news media or any opinions concerning anything having to do with this case. Sir, you may step down. Don't discuss your testimony.
Jury not present.
The court said you may step out.
Witness temporarily excused.
The court said, please be seated. Mr. Ferguson, how long do you think we have with this witness?
Mr. Ferguson said, I'm always hesitant to make too much of an overpromise. I think I'm about halfway through. But to be conservative, it's possible the direct could take us through the day.
The court said, okay. All righty. See you at noon.
Recess. Afternoon session 12:02 p.m. Jury not present.
The court said, unfortunately, lunch just arrived for the jurors, and I'm going to have to give them until 12:30, so we'll start at 12:30. You may step down.
Recess.
The court said, please have the jurors brought in.
Jury present.
The court said, please be seated. Members of the jury, I apologize for the lateness of your lunch. Remember, you're still under oath.
The witness said, yes, Your Honor.
The court said, you may continue.
Mr. Ferguson said, thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Loftus, if we could go back to Government Exhibit Z9. If we can go to page 113.
By Mr. Ferguson.
All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, before the lunch break we were looking at this chart entry. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down to pages 114 to 115. And we had most recently played the V5 video. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Now, Ms. Loftus, we can play that. And Mr. Medrano, I'm going to ask you to read the paragraph that starts, I had a meeting with.
Yes.
Please.
Video played on mute.
I had a meeting with Brother Long Island, Kai, and Ayushue this afternoon before I got on the car. It's just a simple thing. For those fellow fighters who would like to buy G Club memberships. If you have H$ account, then you can buy G Club membership directly with your H$ account. If there are issues with formalities on the transaction between H$ and G Club, please see the public live broadcast of the Alliance Committee that Brother Long Island and Old Squad Lead hosted, which will inform you all the details. Reasonably and legally. Anyone can purchase the membership of G Club with H$ when you have H$ and H$ account. There are still many people asking questions, including Brother Long Island and Kai told me that. Some of the fellow fighters asked, will I still get a free stock offer when I buy a G Club membership, *_? 100%. Because I said that I have to promise that anyone who buys G Club membership before September 17th must be allotted shares. Which is exactly the same. Because we said that anyone can choose whether to use your money to buy G Club before September 17th. G Club and the stock shares. You'll get both.
And Mr. Medrano, we saw this video of July 30th, 2021. Do you recall that?
Yes.
So that's about 9 to 10 months after the October 2020 no stock video?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, go back to the chart, please. And just scroll down to the next page, please. All right. Now this was a video we looked at earlier, right, Mr. Medrano?
Yes.
What's the date of this entry?
August 11th, 2021.
Where was it posted?
On YouTube.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Let's go to page 116, Ms. Loftus, please. All right. And I want to go to V3. And Mr. Medrano, we won't need to play the video, but in the interest of time, I'll just ask you to read the text under V3, please.
Yes. Fellow fighters, you will be one of them. If there is an opportunity like this in front you, and if there is such a platform for you, ask yourself that will you have a second option? What did you pay? All the members of these societies, all the credit card owners you see, and all the brands behind them. How many lives, how many deaths, how many adventures have made these few people? And today you should compare the G Club and the whistleblowing revolution to those risks, to those requirements. To the risks you take, to your likelihood of success, and it's once-in-a-life event in human history. It has the lowest risk, but with the greatest chance of success, the greatest probability of success.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, if we could scroll down to page 117. Mr. Medrano, could you please read the 2 paragraphs under V5?
Yes. Brothers and sisters, please ask yourself, how much money did you have to take out? Joining a platform like this with the amount that you have taken out, show me, and I'll follow you. How much risk are you taking? Can you compare the risks you have taken with all that of these past society organizations and various institutions you have participated in human history? Tell me, what is the percentage difference between these investments and all the money you will get and your ratio? More importantly, what is the gap between your risk and success rate? You don't have any loss. And you don't have any financial risk as of now.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, let's scroll down to V6, please. Mr. Medrano, can you please read the paragraph under V6?
Yes. Do you think Brother 7 is fooling you? So I said, I'll repeat again, all fellow fighters. No matter how much money you have donated, please make sure that you have kept a record of your donation. If you don't have one, please reach out to the Rule of Law Foundation and Rule of Law Society, where they will base on the amount of your donation and the number of your donation. Like we have more than 100 fellow fighters who donate for us in long term and in large sum. For fellow fighters like them, they are not just fellow fighters anymore. In my heart, they are the highest member of our G Club. That's why if you have bought the G Club membership card, you would have stocks now. Why would you lose money? What risks are you taking? Is there such a good opportunity in the world? Will there be such a good opportunity again? Will you have such a good opportunity again?
Mr. Ferguson said, let's scroll down to 118. And if you could read the text under V7, please.
Yes. If you have bought a membership card, please contact each farm. Each farm can collect the card. This is one. The second one is that we have launched G-Dollar. If you open a G-Dollar account on KYC, you can buy membership card right away with G-Dollar. This is the second. Third, some fellow fighters that are recognized by the farm can buy cards for other fellow fighters.
All right. Mr. Medrano, I want to go back in time again back in the chart. Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, if we can go all the way back to page 13, please. And if we could scroll down. All right. So here on page 13, Mr. Medrano, this is a video we looked at earlier, correct?
Correct.
And remind us the date.
June 20th, 2020.
And the first video we looked at was April 2020, right? So this is about 2 months later?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, okay. Now, Ms. Loftus, let's play the video Government Exhibit C123V. And let's start it at about 2:10 into the video.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, let's go back to the chart, please, Ms. Loftus, page 14.
By Mr. Ferguson.
Mr. Medrano, can you read the second excerpt in the chart, please?
Yes. The G dollar is pegged to the US dollar, the G coin is pegged to gold. The gold standard and gold price.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, let's go to page 53 now. And Mr. Medrano, this is another video we looked at earlier as well, right?
Yes.
And on page 53, the entry on this chart, remind us the date?
September 20th, 2020.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, let's play Government Exhibit C205V. And we're going to jump to about 3:15. We'll play a little less than 3 minutes of it.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, let's. So this was September 2020, right, Mr. Medrano?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, let's go back to the chart and go to pages 83 to 84. You can scroll up a little bit. Okay. All right. Now, Mr. Medrano, we're going to look at entries for Government Exhibit C252 through 253. Mr. Ferguson said, and if we could scroll down. And 255, 257. What's the date associated with these four?
April 26th, 2021.
And what's the source?
YouTube.
Mr. Ferguson said, and if we could scroll up to the top one. What appears to be pictured in the top one there?
Gold bars.
And what does it say in the image beneath that?
The Himalaya dollar is a stablecoin.
Do you have any independent knowledge of what the Himalaya dollar is?
No.
Mr. Ferguson said, okay. Let's scroll down again, Ms. Loftus. And why don't we play Government Exhibit C257V?
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's go back to the chart, please.
By Mr. Ferguson.
And Mr. Medrano, that was April 2021, right?
Correct.
Mr. Ferguson said, let's go back to the chart, and let's go to page 120, please. And what's the date of this entry, Mr. Medrano?
September 29th, 2021.
Mr. Skirek said, which video are you referring to?
Mr. Ferguson said, the entry on the screen. This is Government Exhibit C405. Mr. Medrano, what's the date?
September 29th, 2021.
And where was this posted?
On gnews.org.
And could you please read the headline in the image?
Yes. Highlights of Mr. Miles Guo's live broadcast on September 29th, 2021.
And in the image, can you read beneath at the bottom of the image? What does it say in the line at the bottom?
Beneath the heading, the name on the video or?
Yeah, at the very bottom of the image.
Oh, G News, GTV, and I can't really make out that last one. Himalaya?
And Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you just to read the first paragraph underneath that.
Yes. The safest virtual coin at the moment is the Himalaya coin because 20% of the value is anchored to gold. The addition of a stable coin makes good to great. A virtual currency should be bought if it has stable coins. A payment system and a peg to gold.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's go to we can scroll to page, just down a little bit to this next entry. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this video?
October 20th, 2021.
And where was this posted?
On odz.com.
Do you know what that is?
I do not.
And are there? Mr. Ferguson said, actually, let's just scroll down slightly. And I'm going to ask you, Mr. Medrano, to read me one, but I want to play some of the video first. Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, could we please play Government Exhibit C459V1?
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, if we can pause it. And maybe if we can just restart it and put it on mute. And Mr. Medrano, on page 121, I'll ask you to read from the first paragraph there under V1. About the fourth line from the bottom, that starts, "Let me go back."
On the first paragraph?
Correct. First paragraph, about fourth line from the bottom. Let me go back.
Begin there, on let me go back?
Yes. And if you can finish the paragraph.
Okay. Let me go back to your H coins. All of us, your H coins, anyway. Brother 7 doesn't have any. My lawyer said in advance today, Mr. Guo, when you talk about H coin again, it must be your H coins, not ours, your H coins.
And actually, you can continue reading for a few more sentences, Mr. Medrano.
These bastards are too dark, this is the evil of capital. Let me tell you the evil of capital. That's what I'm going to. So bad these bastards. What is called? I am talking about your H coins. Brother 7 designed it at that time. It has the first one, it has the attribute of currency. Why? It has 20% gold. Awesome, it was born as currency on the first day, so it has value, and it's linked to gold. Not to others, clear gold directly. No matter how much it raises, 20% will turn into gold. This is the golden age of human beings.
You can stop there. Thank you, Mr. Medrano. Mr. Ferguson said, if we could go now, Ms. Loftus, to page 123. And I want to focus you on V3, Mr. Medrano. And I'll ask you to read the sentence that starts on the fourth line. It just says H. And then it says H coin must be. Can you start reading there through the end of the paragraph, please?
H coin must be making money. If anyone loses money, I can say that I will compensate 100%. I give you 100%. Whoever loses money, I will bear it. He will definitely earn it. It's just how much you earn. But for you, to be honest, for you guys, it will be 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, 100 times.
And we can stop there, Mr. Medrano. Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's go to page 126, please. And towards the bottom there. All right. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this video?
November 1st, 2021.
Where was it posted?
gnews.org.
And are there subtitles on this video?
Yes.
Can you please read the subtitle on the screen?
It will be far beyond your imagination.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, please play Government Exhibit C300V.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, you can play a little more.
Video continued.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's go back to the chart, please. We can go to page 130.
By Mr. Ferguson.
All right. Now what's the date of this entry, Mr. Medrano?
November 9th, 2021.
Where was it posted?
gnews.org.
Is it an article or a video?
It's an article.
Could you please read the headline in the image?
When you buy a coin, you buy a hen laying golden eggs.
And could you please read the text underneath that in the first paragraph, please?
Yes. Miles, if you buy H coin, you are doing right for investment. You are an investment, not a speculation. Besides, what you buy is not as simple as an appreciation. What you buy is a hen laying golden egg.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's go to page 134, please. All right. Now Mr. Medrano, what's the date on this entry?
November 16th, 2021.
Where was it posted?
gnews.org.
Are there subtitles on this?
Yes.
Would you please read the subtitle in the image?
You know how much it is worth? What is 5% of 2 trillion?
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Now, Ms. Loftus, if we could please play Government Exhibit C432V.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, and if we could go back to the chart, page 134. And could I ask you to please read the text underneath the still image?
Yes. Also, good people have to live a safe and decent life. Just like I said. Any G-Club's buyers donors to the Rule of Law Foundation cannot include people whose donations were unsuccessful. And GTV investors, borrowers, and H-Coin owners always have all the VVIP treatment in the future. According to your different investments, no one in the whole mankind dares to do this. You never thought about how much total comrades in arms invested in GTV. Less than $1 billion US. And now GTV owns 5% of Himalaya Reserve.
And you can keep reading, please.
You know how much it is worth? What is 5% of 2 trillion? 100 million US dollars. Excluding other institutions' investment. How much money do you have? Have you calculated it?
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's now go to page 140 of the chart, please. And if we could scroll down. Could we just zoom in on this entry, please? All right. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this entry?
December 10th, 2021.
And where was it posted?
On YouTube.
Mr. Medrano, what's the color of the car in the image?
Red.
Do you recognize the model?
Yeah, it's
What is it?
a Lamborghini.
And can you read the text underneath the image?
Yes. Miles Guo, Echo into the Moon, official video.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's play Government Exhibit 370V.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we could just go back quickly to about 210 in. Mr. Medrano, what kind of coins are depicted here?
Gold coins.
Mr. Ferguson said, if we could go just a couple seconds forward. Pause. I'm sorry. Another second. Okay. That's fine. Ms. Loftus. Let's go to about 243 in. And can you play for another second? Now actually, withdrawn. Ms. Loftus. Can we actually just pull up Government Exhibit CT38? And can we pull up Government Exhibit CT42? All right. Ms. Loftus. Let's go back to the chart, please. And if we could go now to page 147.
By Mr. Ferguson.
Mr. Medrano, what's the date on this entry?
January 10th, 2022.
And where was it posted?
On gettr.com.
As part of your work, did you preserve things from gettr.com?
Yes.
At a high level, what's your understanding of what GER is?
It's a social media plat.
Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, overruled. You may answer.
A social media platform.
Are there English subtitles on this video?
No.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. So Ms. Loftus, if we could pull up, please, Government Exhibit W1020V.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, we can pause it, Ms. Loftus. Maybe we can put that on mute. And Mr. Medrano, from your binder, on page 147, towards the bottom, it's about the 5th line, that starts. Thirdly, once you have purchased, could you please read from there through the bottom?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thirdly, once you have purchased the coins, if you have any financial losses, Chiga, Brother 7, will be responsible. You will only make money without experiencing any losses. You will only make money without experiencing any losses. This is for our domestic fellow fighters. This is guaranteed by Chiga, Brother 7. Thank you.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, let's go back to the chart, please. And we can go to page 150. And scroll down. All right. What's the date of this entry, Mr. Medrano?
January 26th, 2022.
Where was it posted?
On Getter.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. And Ms. Loftus, let's play Government Exhibit W1021V.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, maybe we can place it on mute. And Mr. Medrano, from your binder on page 150. Can you just read almost all the text on that page underneath the video?
Yes. We are proud of our best KYC in all humanity. We have 5 billion in cash awaiting for KYC. That's not what I said. He checked it himself. We have 6 major brands to announce H-Coin, and then H-Coin can buy things. We will halt it. We will let our H-Pay be on shelf and ask more KYC to come in. Finally, I told him. We briefly talked about this H-Coin issue with the governments of various countries. Miles, your design is awesome. You are a genius. Great. I told you how much H-Coin will.
That's good. Thank you, Mr. Medrano. Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we could go back to the chart and go to page 151, just the next page. All right. And now the entry on the screen, Mr. Medrano, what's the date?
February 2nd, 2022.
Where was it posted?
gnews.org.
And can you just read the headline in the still image?
Yes. Investors were amazed by the brilliant design of Himalaya coin.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's go to page 151, please. I'm sorry, I mean 155. All right. Now what's the date of this entry?
February 16th, 2022.
Where was it posted?
gnews.org.
Are there subtitles in this video?
Yes.
Can you read the subtitle in the image?
Fellow fighters, you own the 4th largest digital currency exchange.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's please play Government Exhibit C491V.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, you can pause it there. And if we could go back to the chart, page 155, please.
By Mr. Ferguson.
Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to read the 4th paragraph down, please.
Yeah. If the digital banking of Himalaya Exchange were launched and if a so-and-so country invested in the Himalaya Exchange, you would get wealthier while I go bankrupt.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, let's go now to page 167. And Mr. Medrano, what's the entry on this chart? What's the date? Excuse me.
May 15th, 2022.
Where was it posted?
gettr.com.
Are there subtitles in this video?
Yes, there are.
Please read the subtitle in the image.
All of them have invested in our G-Series and are our fellow fighters.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, let's please play Government Exhibit C351V.
Video played.
Mr. Medrano. Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, let's go to page 178 of the chart. And if we could scroll down, please. Mr. Medrano, what's the date of this?
November 27th, 2022.
And what's the source here?
Miles Guo account.
And if we could, does this video have subtitles?
It does.
Mr. Ferguson said, if we could please go to GXGTR1, Ms. Loftus. And we'll play it about a minute and a half.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's actually go back to the chart again and go to page 180, please. All right. And what's the date of this video, Mr. Medrano?
December 4th, 2022.
What's the source?
Miles Guo account.
And are there subtitles here?
Yes.
Please read the subtitle in the image.
HCN highest value is.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, let's play Government Exhibit GTR5. We'll play about 2 minutes.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, you can pause there. Mr. Medrano, turning. Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we could turn back to the chart at pages 180 to 181. And Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to read the last paragraph on page 180, please.
Yeah. Only such currency functions as a currency whether you are on the moon or Mars. Transferring funds instantly, unaffected by nothing. This is blockchain. This is where humanity is heading. The future value of NFSC is being a safe haven for humanity to access money with the lowest cost where elites converge.
And then could you read the first sentence on page 181, please?
Yes. HCN highest value is, it is a stablecoin.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's scroll down more to page 181. And what's the date of this video, Mr. Medrano?
December 16, 2022.
And the source?
Miles Guo account.
And there are subtitles?
Yes.
Can you please read the subtitle in the image?
If HCN is not pegged with HDO by 1:1.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, if we could please play Government Exhibit GTR8.
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Ms. Loftus, let's go back to the chart, please. And if we could go to page 182. And, oh. If you could scroll up slightly.
By Mr. Ferguson.
Mr. Medrano, I'd ask you to just read the third paragraph there that starts, think about it.
Yes. Think about it. If HCN is not pegged with HDO by 1:1 and without a stringent KYC process. Can it make it this far? It would have been long gone. Think of what it entails.
Mr. Ferguson said, if we could scroll down slightly. And can you read the last two sentences in this excerpt?
Moreover, FTX misappropriated clients' funds. They are a bunch of crooks.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we can go page 184, please. What's the date of this video?
January 3, 2023.
What's the source?
The Miles Guo account.
Does it have subtitles?
It does.
Can you read the subtitle in the image?
Misappropriated your money as an investor.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, could we please play Government Exhibit GTR12?
Video played.
Mr. Ferguson said, you can pause there. Mr. Medrano, can you read the subtitle on the screen, please?
Which makes the customers feel very unsafe.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we can go back to the chart, please. And let's go to page 200, please. All right. Now on the bottom part of 200, Mr. Medrano, what's the entry? What's the date of that entry?
February 28, 2023.
Where was it posted?
On gnews.org.
The video or article?
It's an article.
What's the headline?
February 28, 2023, full text of Miles Guo's Get a Video.
First.
All right. And the text in the chart, is that the full text or just an excerpt?
An excerpt.
Okay. Could you please read the text in the chart?
Yes. Let us take Himalaya Coin, HCN, as an example. Fellow fighters. Your HCNs have a lockup period, right? Suppose Brother 7 has HCNs with no lockup restriction. Then he can sneakily sell his HCNs and redeem cash every day, right? But ask yourself, what would be the consequence? Your HCNs are restricted from circulation, so while you can behold the price of the HCN, still, only Brother 7 or a handful of people can buy and sell HCNs in the market and cash out. In this case, is there going to be inflation? No. For your HCNs are not in circulation at all.
Mr. Medrano, what was the date of this article which said your HCNs are not in circulation at all?
February 28, 2023.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, now let's go to page 192. Go back in time a little bit. And Mr. Medrano, on page 192, what's the date of this chart entry?
February 13, 2023.
So that's about 2 weeks or so before the one we just looked at about no circulation?
Correct.
All right.
The court said, "What page are you at again?"
Mr. Ferguson said, 192, Your Honor.
The court said, "Go ahead."
Mr. Medrano, can you just read just the first sentence of this article?
Yes. In the past week, the price of Himalayan coin, H-coin, dropped back to around $20. with an average daily trading volume of about 80,000 pieces and a 1-week trading volume of about 550,000 pieces.
And 2 weeks before the no circulation, what did this say the daily trading volume was?
Mr. Skirik said, objection.
The court said, overruled.
The date,
The daily.
80,000 pieces.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Now, Ms. Loftus, I'm not going to go well, I'm only going to go back slightly in time now. If we can just go to page 189 now. All right, Mr. Medrano, what's the date of the entry on page 189?
February 8, 2023.
Where was this posted?
On gettr.com.
And the first video we watched was April 2020, right?
Correct.
This is almost 3 years later, right?
Correct.
Now there's 2 images in the selected contact, correct?
Yes.
Are these images from the video?
Yes.
What's in brackets above the second, the bottom ship?
It's the timestamp where that image is taken from.
Mr. Ferguson said, and Ms. Loftus, if we could zoom in a little bit on the bottom snip. Thank you, Ms. Loftus. Now, Mr. Medrano, aside from reviewing exhibits for your testimony, do you have any independent knowledge of what a 10 is?
I do not.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. So we can zoom out, Ms. Loftus, and there's 2 snips here. Mr. Medrano, did you help make a chart of additional snips from this video?
Yes, I did.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we could just show the witness only what's marked as Government Exhibit Z10. Mr. Medrano, is this the chart you were just referring to?
Yes.
Does this chart accurately reflect information from Government Exhibit 451V? The video we were just looking at?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, the government offers Government Exhibit Z10.
Mr. Skirik said, no objection.
The court said, it is admitted.
Government's Exhibit Z10 received in evidence.
Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we could publish that, and Your Honor. If I may publish hard copies to the jury and to the court and the witness.
The court said yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, thank you, Your Honor. Actually, Your Honor, I jumped the gun on that. We'll stick with the screen for now. A later exhibit I will want to publish.
The court said okay.
Mr. Ferguson said, apologies. Okay. Ms. Loftus, we now have Government Exhibit Z10, right? Mr. Medrano. Excuse me.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Ferguson said, Ms. Loftus, if we could just scroll through the 7 pages, please. All right. And you can go to the last one. Did these snips appear in the video, Mr. Medrano?
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. So Ms. Loftus, if we could now go back to a stipulation, Government Exhibit Stip 2. All right. And this is the stipulation regarding web pages and videos. And Ms. Loftus, if we could go to page 20, please. And Mr. Medrano, I want to focus you on GXW164. Do you see that?
I do.
Could you read well, what date was that preserved?
March 25, 2024.
And did you preserve it?
I did. Yes, I did.
And could you read the domain? You don't have to read all the numbers but just the start of the domain.
Yes. A-10.zensk.com.
The court said, all right. That's a 10.
Yes.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. Now Ms. Loftus, if we could pull up that exhibit, GXW164. And Mr. Medrano, is this the preservation we were just looking at?
Yes.
Could you, in the top left corner, could you please read what it says there?
AE10 Customer Service Center.
And then beneath that, in large bold letters, could you read what that says?
A 10 Project Introduction.
And when does it say it was posted beneath that?
1 year ago.
Mr. Ferguson said, all right. And Ms. Loftus, are we able to add, on the right GXZ10? Just pull them up side by side?
Continued on next page. By Mr. Ferguson.
If you can zoom out on the one on the right, and if we could scroll just to see how the pages look. All right. Keep scrolling. That's fine, Ms. Loftus. Thank you. Mr. Medrano, before your testimony. Did you do this comparison? Did you look at both of these side by side?
Yes.
And how did they compare?
They were the same.
All right. Now, Ms. Loftus, I'm going to focus on GXW164. And I now want to pull up what's in evidence as GXW164T. Mr. Ferguson said, Your Honor, this is the exhibit W164T I would like to publish if that's all right.
The court said, go ahead.
Now, Mr. Medrano, looking at page 1, could I ask you to read the English text on this page?
Yes. Withdrawing money remotely, taking a drastic measure to deal with a situation. Using money to destroy the Communist Party. A 10 project introduction. Himalayan Farm Alliance Committee, February 8, 2023.
Let's go to page 2, please. Please read the English text.
Yes. What is the A10 project? Refers to the 5% equity of Getter and the 5% equity of Himalaya Exchange. Explanation. The project was originally called A15 and also included the 5% equity of G Club. Because G Club is a top global club, member information should not be disclosed to shareholders and the public. So A15 became A10.
Do you know what A15 is, Mr. Medrano?
I do not.
Let's go to page 3, please. All right. Mr. Medrano, just the center top English text. What does that say?
A 10 project structure diagram.
If we could zoom in a little more, Ms. Loftus, on the image. Let's just start with the top row of this diagram. In the top left, could you read the English text for that?
Yes. New and old G Club cards, SEC refunds, digital bank to A10, etc. Other types of rights.
And then moving over one to the right. Could you read the English text for that?
New investment more than 100,000.
And then again to the right, please read the text for that.
New investment less than 100,000.
Now, for the next row down, can you read the English text for those boxes, please?
Yes. The left each fund or entity, each new fund.
Scroll up, please.
In the center, each new fund.
You can read all three.
Holding fund, holding company. And then the far right, each SPV.
And then can you read the bottom two?
Yes. 5% Getter, 5% Himalaya Exchange.
Let's go to the next page, please. Mr. Medrano. I'll ask you to read the English text for this page, please. Just read it.
Which investments can obtain A10 equity? 1. New and old G Club cards. 2. New platform investment. 3. New and ongoing investment, including card purchase and an A10 investment. 4. Funds returned by SEC and reinvestment. 5. Digital bank project converted to A10 project. 6. Funds not received from Himalaya Exchange. 7. Other rights and interest of comrades in the farm. And note for items 4, 5, 6, and 7 involving fund freezing or litigation. The equity will be retained until the litigation is over and the funds are unfrozen.
Let's go to the next page, please. Mr. Medrano, could you please read the center? The top center English text?
A10 equity and G Club card benefits.
Can you read the text underneath that?
Anyone who obtains A10 equity will be given a G Club card of the same value * rounded in units of 10,000.
Can you read the next text, please?
Anyone who obtains G Club card benefits will be given an A10 equity of the same value.
Let's go to the next page, please. Now, Mr. Medrano, could you please read the English text here?
Note on investment with HDO. There is no difference in equity value between investment with HDO and fiat currency. When investing with HDO, please note, 1. For those who have wired HDO to their FMV accounts before 12 on January 28, 2023. Eastern Time, refunded their purchase and deposited with fiat currency after January 1, 2023. Except for over-the-counter trading without going through the farm. You can get 5% Himalaya coin reward by investing in A10 with this part of HDO. 2. For those who invest in A10 or buy cards with HDO obtained by selling Himalaya coin after 12 on January 28, 2023, Eastern Time. You cannot give 5% Himalaya coin reward. 3. For other HDO, such as HDO owned in the account before 12 on January 28, 2023, the reward method will be determined separately. In principle, if you can prove that the HDO invested is not from the sale of Himalaya coin after 12 on January 28, you can get rewards equivalent to other investments.
Let's go to the next page, please. And this looks like this is the look like a dup, right, Mr. Medrano?
Correct.
Let's go to the next one. Could you read the text here, please?
Yes. Digital Bank Project. The Digital Bank Project has been suspended due to the Chinese Communist Party sabotage. And all investment funds have been frozen in the bank. Comrades have 3 options. 1. Switch to the A10 project. Get a card of the corresponding amount and get 5% Himalaya coin reward. 2. Wait for the future Digital Bank Project, but there is no 5% Himalaya coin reward. 3. Refund. Need to wait for the funds to be unfrozen.
Let's go to the next page, please. And if we could, Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you just to read the second paragraph.
The end date of this A10 financing is not yet determined. But because it is in a state of war with the Chinese Communist Party, temporary changes are not ruled out. Please understand.
If we can go to page 10, please. Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to read the text here.
Yes. Implementation and lockup of the Himalaya coin reward. After the financing is completed and the A10 rights are approved, the reward qualifications will be checked immediately. And the corresponding Himalaya coin and Get a Coin rewards will be implemented. The Himalaya coins reward at this time have a lockup period from the date of issuance, of which 20% are locked up for 1 year. 40% are locked up for 2 years, and the remaining 40% are locked up for 3 years. Get a Coin is not locked.
If we can go to the next page. Could you please read the text here, Mr. Medrano?
Current progress and plans. For completed investment, such as old cards, digital bank project transfers, etc., just sign the relevant documents for subscribing to fund shares or shares. For the SEC refund and new investment, start with large funds of more than $100,000 and complete various procedures, wire payment and reconciliation. It is planned to start small and medium-size SPV financing at the end of February and the beginning of March. And the minimum investment amount is not yet determined. This financing will be organized and implemented by the Alliance Finance Department, and investment matters will be explained in each farm one after another.
We can just go to the last page, page 12. Ms. Loftus, if we could go back to the chart, please GXZ9. This is the video where the original snips we were looking at came from, Mr. Medrano?
Correct.
So, Ms. Loftus, if we can go now to page 190. At the top here, the first entry here, Mr. Medrano. And if you could read actually, what's the date of that top entry?
February 9th, 2023.
And what's the source?
The Miles Guo Getter account.
Could you read the English text there, please?
Dear fellow fighters, Brother Changdao, Nicole, Little Prince, and all frontline fellow fighters will write a new chapter in Washington, D.C. The balloon event is the biggest gift given to us. Ultimately, all the CCP's infiltration forces in the United States will be uprooted. Next, the Iron Blood Group and the Alliance will live broadcast to help the fellow fighters respond on the A10 and G Club card projects. Communist Party, you are finished.
Let's scroll down a little here to GXW201, please. Actually, if we could scroll down slightly more to GXW200. What's the date of this entry, Mr. Medrano?
February 10th, 2023.
That's the next day?
Correct.
Where was it posted?
On gnews.org.
Can you please read the headline?
February 10th, 2023, Miles Guo's Getter First.
In the bottom left of the image, what does it say there?
Miles with a verified icon vs icon.
Mr. Medrano, I ask you to read the text in the chart, please.
There will be a live broadcast on Sunday. Everyone please pay close attention to the information from the Himalaya Alliance Committee and Fei Fei Show. You can get answers to your questions on the A10 investment project. I can't reply to so many messages from you one by one.
Could you read the remainder of the excerpt, please?
The Fei Fei Show and the Himalaya Alliance Committee will answer all our fellow fighters' questions about the A10 investment project.
Ms. Loftus, if we can go to page 194, please. If we could scroll down? What's the date of this entry?
February 17th, 2023.
Where was it posted?
gnews.org.
Can you read the headline, please?
Fei Fei Show A10, Q&A.
Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to please read the text in the chart. Well, read on to about half the next page.
Okay. About the A10 project. The 5% equity of Getter and the 5% equity of Himalaya Reserve are called A10 together. G Clubs is an operation form of private equity companies. As a top global club, it has a high level of confidentiality, so it does not participate in this project. An investment of 1 yuan in A10 is equivalent to an investment of 10,000 yuan. And its shares are scarce and have high economic growth value. Getter and Himalaya Reserve will not find institutions to raise funds, but will directly list and trade stocks. At this stage, the fundraising process has been completed through the participation of comrades in arms. Since A10's investment rights are relevant to the amount of investment, too much fundraising will dilute future expectations. And coupled with the continuous destruction of CCP's fundraising will be.
If we can scroll down, Ms. Loftus, please. And you can just read the next 3 lines.
Close at any time. Comrades who are interested in investing. Rapid action is the biggest guarantee for participating in the A10 project.
You can continue that next paragraph.
How much will A10 stock be worth in the future? You can refer to the current market valuation of high-tech companies such as Twitter, Facebook, Google and ChatGPT.
Ms. Loftus, if we can go to page 199. What's the date, Mr. Medrano?
February 20th, 2023.
What's the source?
The Miles Guo Getter account.
Can you please read the subtitle in the snip?
That's why we need to promote the A10 project quickly.
Ms. Loftus, actually, Mr. Medrano, could you please read the text under where it says caption?
Yes. Miles Guo interpretation is that it's better for fellow fighters to invest in A10 as early as possible. Otherwise their interest will be eaten up by major shareholders.
Ms. Loftus, if we could play government exhibit Getter 16.
Media played.
Ms. Loftus, let's go back to the chart, please. And we can scroll down. And, Mr. Medrano, I'll ask you to read the video text, please.
Yes. You asked us to complete the 5% A10 project of Himalaya Exchange now. Let our fellow fighters come in. I have the power to allocate the funds. Otherwise, if our fellow fighters come in late, for example, half a year later, the previous investors would have already come in and sold all the coin and they wouldn't even bother to calculate the shares with you. The previous shareholders have already taken the money, that's why we need to promote the A10 project quickly. Let our fellow fighters also get 5% of the coin issued this year. There will always be 5% in the years 98 and 99 of the future. That's why wait? We can issue it at any time. In the legitimate white paper, it has been stated that it can be released at any time. Everyone is eager to have it.
Ms. Loftus, let's go down now to page 206. Mr. Medrano, what's the date here?
March 5th, 2023.
Where was this posted?
gnews.org.
Can you read the headline?
March 4, 2023, full text of Miles Guo's Get a Video.
Towards the let's actually focus on Government Exhibit W183, Mr. Medrano. What's the date of that entry?
March 8, 2023.
Where was this posted?
On gnews.org.
Can you read the headline?
March 7, 2023, full text of Miles Guo's Get a Video.
Mr. Medrano, can you please read the text in the chart?
Yes. Right now the most critical thing for us that we should have common sense. We should focus on developing our A10 investment program. Expanding the G Club member group and gathering more fellow fighters.
Can you scroll down, Ms. Loftus?
Most institutional investors are very envious of those who can participate in our investment programs.
This was March 2023, right?
Correct.
You started in April 2020?
Correct.
I'm going to go back in time again. Actually, withdrawn. Let's go to a different chart, Ms. Loftus. This is Government Exhibit Z11. We can publish that. Mr. Medrano, is this another chart you helped prepare?
Yes.
What's the date here?
November 20th, 2018.
And can you read the text in the selected content, please?
The one at the bottom on in the screen.
Underneath V1.
What Miles Guo has committed to since his enjoying the freedoms of the democratic West is to establish $100 million fund immediately, which will be called the Rule of Law Fund.
If we could scroll down to the next page, please. Mr. Medrano, could you please read what's on this page?
This is his money.
This is 2018, right?
Yes.
Can we go back just one more from Z9, Ms. Loftus, please? We're still in March 2023. I want to go all the way back to June 2020, please, page 11. The date of this entry, Mr. Medrano, on page 11, what's the date?
June 20th, 2020.
Where was this posted?
gtv.org.
We're almost at the beginning of the chart, right?
Yes.
Let's scroll to page 12, please. We're going to go to V5. Mr. Medrano, could you please read the text under V5 from June 20th, 2020?
Yes. I hope you will remember that when Gui told you that you will not lose a penny. And of course, I will not let others steal a penny from us and defraud us of a penny.
Mr. Ferguson said, "May I have a moment, Your Honor?" No further questions. Thank you.
The court said, cross-examination.
Cross-examination. By Mr. Skirik.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Medrano.
Good afternoon.
You've testified about Government Exhibit Z9, Z10, and Z11, right?
Correct.
And these are charts showing statements from a variety of different sources, right?
Correct.
And many of the sources, as we've seen here this afternoon, are videos, right?
Yes.
And many of the sources are documents, right?
Documents?
Documents, yes.
Articles or?
Well, I think you testified that you performed an online preservation.
Of the online articles?
Correct. To use your word, articles. I would just say documents generally. Articles is a fair statement as well. So you have both videos and then you have articles and documents, right?
Yeah.
We're agreed on that.
Videos, articles, and some social media posts too, I believe.
Fair enough. In some cases the source documents that underlie the charts that we just talked about are very long.
Yes.
In some cases extremely long, 2 to 3 hours.
Correct.
And you testified on direct that you created this chart, right?
I assisted with the creation, correct. I reviewed it and confirm its validity.
And when did you see the first draft of the chart, do you recall?
Approximately 2 weeks ago, very recently.
And when the first draft arrived to you, was it in a fairly advanced state of development?
Yes, it was similar to what we're reviewing now, correct.
And I believe you testified on direct that it was the government prosecution team that created the draft. Is that right?
That is correct.
And then you made some changes to it, correct?
I wouldn't say changes. I made some minor corrections. I didn't change any of the things that were on it. If something didn't appear as it did on the source document, then I made a minor correction.
Understood. So you sort of proofread it?
Correct.
For minor corrections, right?
Yeah, grammatical errors.
And typos?
Yes.
And you check the dates?
Exactly.
Things of that nature?
Correct.
So while you help create the chart, it's fair to say that this chart was really something that the government prosecution team created in the main. Is that fair?
That's fair.
And you also testified to this on direct, but I'd just like to confirm if you bear with me. So it's clear that the prosecutors decided what to put into the chart, right?
That is correct.
And it's clear that the prosecutors chose which videos to excerpt in the chart, right?
That is correct.
And it's clear that the prosecutors chose which articles to excerpt in the chart, right?
Correct.
And then it's clear that selecting the documents from which the excerpts were taken, that was also done by the prosecution team, right?
So the excerpts from the articles themselves within the chart were done by the prosecutors. Is that your question?
It was a bad question. I'll try again. So it's clear that the documents that underlie the chart were also selected by the prosecutors, correct?
Mr. Ferguson said, Your Honor, this is fine, but just clear, it's correct, perhaps. I just object to the characterization.
The court said, if you just restate your question.
Mr. Skirik said, Sure, Your Honor. The prosecutor selected the underlying documents, correct?
Is correct.
You didn't watch all of the videos that are in this chart from start to finish, did you?
I did not.
Good for you. Do you know whether the prosecution team watched all of the videos from start to finish?
I don't know.
You just don't know.
I don't know.
Would you agree with me that by selecting certain things to put in this chart, the government prosecutors also decided what to leave out of the chart?
Yeah, they decided what was in the chart, correct.
By definition, if it's not in, it's out, right?
Correct, what they decided to put in is what's on there.
And is it your understanding that care was taken by the prosecution team to make sure that Mr. Guo's statements reflected in this chart in the selected content were presented fairly?
Mr. Ferguson said, Objection.
The court said, Sustained.
Do you have any understanding as to whether care was taken to properly give context?
Mr. Ferguson said, Objection.
To the content.
The court said, Sustained.
On direct, did the government take you through any selected content in the chart in which Mr. Guo talks about the CCP? Do you recall that?
Did they take me, or could you re-ask the question?
Sure. Mr. Ferguson took you through a number of different selected content in the chart.
Yes.
But not all of it, right?
I don't believe it was all of them, but yes, we went through a large majority of them.
My question is, do you recall whether he took you through any content in which Mr. Guo talked about the CCP?
I don't recall targeting those specific content. But I do recall reviewing some that did indicate stuff about the CCP.
Let's take a look at some examples of the content from the chart. If we could please pull up GXE9 at page 2. We can publish it to everyone. We can drop that call out. Let's just take a look at the underlying document. Thank you. You see this document, Mr. Medrano?
I do.
And you remember testifying about this, right?
Yes, I do.
And this is the excerpt from the chart that's a summary of an April 2020 video, is that right?
That is correct.
And this is a video, if you recall, where Mr. Guo talks about the GTV private placement, is that right?
I don't recall exactly what he spoke about, but I do recall going through this video.
Fair enough. And as we covered before, there are statements that are left out of this summary, right?
There are statements that are left out of that. There are portion excerpts from the video. It's not the full video.
That are left out of the summary, right?
Mr. Ferguson said, Objection. Asked and answered.
The court said, Asked and answered. He said that these are excerpts, not the whole videos.
So, for example, there's a quote here that follows the 2-minute and 17 marker that's in brackets. You see that, Mr. Medrano?
Yes, I do.
That begins, let me give you a brief introduction. You see that?
Yes, I do.
Now, let's take a look at the underlying document, which is GXE26T, which is in evidence. I'll just ask if we could please underline in the first paragraph the sentence which begins when you see this video. It is not a public video. Okay. Mr. Medrano, do you see that sentence is highlighted in red?
Yes, I do.
That's the first sentence that appears in the summary chart, correct?
Correct.
And then the summary chart jumps to the 2-minute 17-second mark after that, right?
Correct.
If you could please look in the second box that's displayed on your screen that begins. I haven't had breakfast yet.
Okay.
I'm just going to read that. You let me know if I get it right. I haven't had breakfast yet. And my blood sugar is low, so I can't get too excited. This video is just a brief introduction to friends and fellow fighters who have the intention to invest in GTV so that you can understand the documents to be signed in the investment and during investment, as well as some basic procedures. This is not a reference for investment. Did I read that correctly?
You did.
It continues. First of all, I would like to let all the friends who intend to invest know that any kind of investment in the world is risky. There will be risk for investing in GTV, and there will be potential risk that you have imagined. And Wengui would like to strongly suggest to all friends who have discussed with Wengui personally about investing in GTV, or intend to invest in GTV, to please be careful on all the investment activities before you start investing. This is one. Please carefully read through all the documents to be signed for investment. And we must remember all the information to be filled out on the issue of investment. And all the funds provided must be legal and real. Did you see that?
Yes.
And I read that correctly?
You did.
So Mr. Guo said to please carefully read through the investment documents in this transcript, correct?
Investment activities.
My question is, this is a quote from Mr. Guo, right?
Correct. You said please be careful on the investment documents. It says investment activities.
Is it a fair summary to say of everything that's highlighted here that he is saying to please be careful? And if you skip 2 sentences down, please carefully read through all the documents. Is that fair?
Mr. Ferguson said, objection. It speaks for itself.
The court said, the document speaks for itself. He's not here to interpret the words.
Mr. Skirik said, thank you, Your Honor. This selection that's highlighted here didn't make it into the chart, right?
This selection was not on the chart.
Let's please go to page 16 of Government Exhibit C26T. I'm sorry. Actually, let's start on 15 and then we'll move to 16. Now, Mr. Medrano, if we refer back to our summary charts, and we can pull this up for you briefly. Do you have a paper copy, sir, a paper copy of the...
Of Z9?
Yes.
Yes.
We're on page 3 here of the summary chart. Under the 815 mark that's in brackets on page 3. Do you see the sentence beginning, you may live in Beijing, Shanghai, or Taiwan?
Yes.
And the next part of the excerpt doesn't pick up until 1945, is that correct?
That's correct.
If we can go back to 26T on page 15, and we'll again just highlight in red the portions of the text from 26T, which is a source document that are in the chart. Mr. Medrano, do you see the language that's highlighted in red on the screen?
Yes, I do.
Is that what is highlighted in the summary chart?
Yes, beginning with you.
And then if we see on the right-hand side of your screen in smaller font there is a passage that begins with, so fellow fighters. You see that?
Yes, I do.
I'm going to read this, and you let me know if I get it right. So fellow fighters, with these specific information, I hope that these can be beneficial to fellow fighters to understand the basic principles of investment. I just would like to make a brief explanation, but I will stress this one more time. Please be sure to read the prospectus, subscription letter, shareholder agreement, and confidentiality agreement that are sent to you. Those will prevail. What I said is not. Don't take what I said as the standard. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
And again, Mr. Medrano, the part that we just read. That I just read and that was highlighted on your screen, that was not included in the government summary chart. Correct?
Correct.
Let's take a look at another statement. If we go to page 17 of 26T. And again, Mr. Medrano. What's highlighted in red here? We will probably have one or more private placements this year. Do you see that?
Yes.
Does that appear, that language that's highlighted on the screen? Does that appear in the summary chart under the minute marker 1945?
Yes, it does.
In GXZ9?
Yes, it does.
Now, do you see the right-hand side of your screen, the language that begins, "Dear fellow fighters"?
I do.
Any type of investment is risky.
Yes.
I'm going to read that, and again once more you let me know if I get it right or wrong. Dear fellow fighters. Any type of investment is risky, and there are many types of risks out there. Please be rational, think through it, and read through the legal documents when it comes to investment. This is a brief investment explanation that Guo would like to make to friends, fellow fighters of investment. Please think twice. I would like to give thanks to all investors and friends, fellow fighters. Everything has begun. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, you did.
And everything has begun is the only part of that passage that is excerpted in the government summary chart, correct?
Correct.
Now let's turn back to the summary chart itself. Looking at page 6. Mr. Skirik said, Your Honor, before we look at the underlying documents, just one housekeeping issue. Under the party's stipulation 9 that Mr. Fergensen referred to earlier this morning, there's a stipulation to admit into evidence Government Exhibit C63T, which is a translation of 63, which is a video, and Government Exhibit C220T, which is a translation of 220, which is a video, so the defense would offer those documents.
Mr. Fergensen said, the government objects. The stipulation is that they're offered as government exhibits at trial, not the defense exhibits.
The court said, these were already offered by the government, correct?
Mr. Fergensen said, no, Your Honor. There was authentication. We offered clips from these videos, Your Honor.
The court said, would you step up, please?
Continued on next page. At the sidebar.
The court said, what is it that you're seeking to offer?
Mr. Skirik said, the parties have stipulated that these are correct translations of videos that the parties have also stiped to the authenticity. The government has offered numerous videos as well as the translations of various videos. And we're only offering these to go through with Mr. Medrano parts that were left out by the government from the summary chart. So it's our position that these are admissible as government exhibits, even if we move them in. Alternatively, they're admissible under the rule of completeness.
The court said, let me see if I understand. The government admitted the whole translation?
Mr. Fergensen said, no, just clips. There were video clips and translations of the clips. And that's what we put in for these two videos, and we did that on agreement. As I noted for the court last week, a few days ago, that the defense had no objection to our entering clips, and they would later may seek to offer other clips under the rule of completeness. And we agreed not to object under timeliness, but we didn't have substantive objections. This is the first I've heard that they're actually trying to offer the entire video and the entire translation. That's not how the rule of completeness works. It's to complete a particular statement that has been offered by the government. They're just trying to offer in bulk the full translation, which would be ours.
The court said, the whole thing or just a portion?
Mr. Kamraju said, just what's on the stipulation, Your Honor.
Mr. Skirik said, these have already been stipulated to. These are the underlying documents. These are the translations.
Mr. Kamraju said, it says at the end admitted by the government.
Mr. Fergensen said, yes, government exhibits, by the government. Because the government can put in an opposing party statement by either defendant's statement. They can't put in the defendant's statement because he's not an opposing party.
Mr. Kamaraju said, the question was, does the government intend to introduce these statements at any point during trial?
Mr. Ferguson said, no, as we agreed, as I discussed with Mr. Skirik.
Mr. Kamaraju said, so this stipulation, Government Exhibit 220. It's the government's position it's never going to move into evidence 220T into trial evidence.
Mr. Ferguson said, I don't have to commit to it right now I guess. As I discussed with Mr. Skirik. He was going to tell us what portions he sought to offer from the full video. This is the first we heard you're offering the full video in translation.
Mr. Kamaraju said, we're offering the translation.
Mr. Ferguson said, of the full video. That's exactly what it is.
The court said, have you not decided whether you're going to offer the full translation?
Mr. Ferguson said, we are not seeking it today at least. We thought they would discuss with us if they want to offer more portions of the full translation.
The court said you had a talk about this and your understanding was that they were going to let you know.
Mr. Skirik said, that was not our understanding, Your Honor. I don't appreciate that. If that's your position. That was certainly not clear to us. The government has already offered portions of these transcripts this morning with Mr. Medrano. We're only looking to offer other portions.
Mr. Ferguson said, that's not how the rule of completeness works.
The court said, they haven't reviewed what you're planning to offer, yet you knew what they were planning to offer.
Mr. Skirik said, Your Honor. Everyone knows what's in there because everyone's reviewed them and there is a stip they're admissible. I don't think it's fair to say they haven't been reviewed.
The court said, these are lengthy documents. Is it that you need to review before?
Mr. Ferguson said, correct, Your Honor. We need to know if it is appropriate under the rule of completeness.
The court said, that's only fair that they be able to consider what you're claiming should complete the narrative.
Mr. Ferguson said, what we did agree, Your Honor. We're not going to object on timeliness or anything like that if they later seek to offer portions under rule of completeness. But we may have substantive objections to it that it's not appropriate under the rule of completeness. If they want to do it later after we discuss, that's fine.
Mr. Skirik said, are we going to bring this witness back after we go through whether you're going to object to the additional portions that we're seeking to introduce just to contextualize the stip that you introduced?
The court said, can you jump to another portion of your cross-examination that does not involve this issue? And then afterwards at 2:45 the two of you duke it out?
Mr. Skirik said, if the court can give me 2 minutes to just check my outline to make sure I do have something that is not impacted.
The court said, go check your outline and come back.
Mr. Skirik said, thank you, Judge. There is one additional video that I plan to cover that is already in evidence. So I can cover that with the witness, and we'll, I suppose. Just have to reserve the right to call Mr. Medrano back after we resolve the completeness issues.
The court said, so he can come back tomorrow. It's not like he needs to be somewhere, right? Okay.
Mr. Ferguson said, yes.
The court said, okay. Very good.
Continued on next page. In open court. By Mr. Skirik.
Can we please pull up Government Exhibit C11? Mr. Medrano. This summary chart covers a single government exhibit. Is that correct?
That is correct.
GXW 1005.
Correct.
Now the chart doesn't show all statements in this video, correct?
Correct.
And the video is actually quite long, right?
Correct.
It's actually over 2 hours long, right?
I'm not 100% sure of the entire duration.
But you do know it's quite long.
That's correct.
And the government has excerpted in the selected content column only 2 sentences, right?
On V1, correct, yes.
And then 1 sentence underneath that, is that right?
I believe that is correct, but I can't see.
You see that?
I do.
So we have a total of 2 sentences excerpted from this entire 2-hour-long video, right?
The court said, you can't testify. He hasn't testified that it was 2 hours long.
So we have 2 sentences from this rather long video, right? Correct. And the statements that are made here and quoted are not made by Mr. Guo, right?
It does not appear to be Mr. Guo in the video.
These are statements by Mr. Steve Bannon, right? Do you recognize him?
Correct.
And this chart doesn't reflect that this video was related to a non-profit organization.
I only confirm validity of the statement in the chart. I'm not sure what else was in the video.
Let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at a couple of excerpts that didn't make it into the government's chart. Can we please pull up GXW 1005 at the 20-minute and 5-second mark?
Media played.
Do you see in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, Mr. Medrano, a watermark of sorts?
Yes.
And what does it say?
Guo Media.
Do you know what Guo Media is?
I do not.
Is Mr. Guo attacking the CCP as a totalitarian regime in this video?
Mr. Ferguson said, objection.
The court said, sustained, so he can't comment on the content of what the speaker is saying. He can just confirm the words that are used.
Mr. Skirik said, thank you, Your Honor. The chart at GXZ11 doesn't include any part of the video that we just reviewed, correct?
Mr. Ferguson said, asked and answered.
The court said, sustained.
Let's please queue up the same document GSW 1005 at 22:51.
Media played.
Mr. Medrano, the chart at GXZ11 does not show the statement that was shown to the jury, correct?
Mr. Ferguson said, objection.
The court said, sustained.
It doesn't show any other statements on the same topic, does it?
Mr. Ferguson said, asked and answered.
The court said, if you can answer the question you may.
I only reviewed what was displayed on the government exhibits. So I'm not sure what else might have been there.
You can see in this chart that it only contains 2 sentences, that there are no other statements in this chart about the CCP. Right. That's my question.
Correct, what is on this chart is what I reviewed.
Now, with respect to the chart. In the chart the government has created an excerpt that shows Mr. Bannon saying that Mr. Guo wants to establish a $100 million fund called the Rule of Law Fund. Right.
Yes.
And then on the next page there's a single statement saying, this is his money.
On the next page, yes.
Now, I just want to draw your attention to the timestamps on those 2 statements.
Yes.
The first one is 1 hour 16 minutes and 31 seconds is the end time, is that correct?
Correct.
And the next statement begins at 1 hour, 23 minutes and 34 seconds, is that correct?
Correct.
So there's actually 7 minutes and 6 seconds between these statements in the video, correct?
Based on the timestamps, correct.
Would you agree with me that this chart suggests to a reader that these 2 statements are connected?
Mr. Ferguson said, objection.
The court said, sustained. That's for the jury to decide.
Let's play the same video beginning at 1 hour 20 minutes and 28 seconds. And before we do that, Mr. Medrano, you'll note that if we begin at 1 hour 20 minutes and 28 seconds, that is approximately 3 minutes before the statement, this is his money. Correct?
Yes. I don't have the chart in front of me.
Do you not have GXZ11 the paper copy with you?
No.
You can see here. We've displayed it on the screen. So it starts at 1 hour 23 minutes and 34 seconds.
Yes.
And we're going to start the video at 1 hour 20 minutes and 28 seconds. You agree with me that's about 3 minutes before the statement that's in the chart, correct?
Correct.
Media played.
The court said, it's now 2:45, so we need to stop. Members of the jury, we're going to take our break now. And you'll be returning tomorrow. Remember that you're not allowed to discuss the case amongst yourselves, or with anyone else. Don't permit anyone else to discuss the case in your presence. Remember, no researching about anything having to do with this case, and no listening to any media reports or any opinions concerning anything to have to do with this case.
The law clerk said, jury exiting.
Jury not present.
The court said, you may be seated. Mr. Medrano, you'll be returning to the courtroom tomorrow at 9:29 to be seated here at the witness stand again. Remember not to discuss your testimony. You may leave everything there.
Witness temporarily excused.
The court said, I'd like both sides to see if you can work out the issue that we discussed at the sidebar. And if you can't after trying very hard, we can discuss it tomorrow morning at 9.
Mr. Ferguson said, "Yes, Your Honor."
Mr. Finkel said, "Your Honor, can we ask the court one additional thing? The government was wondering if we could have until tomorrow, Tuesday, to file its response to the reconsideration of Your Honor's decision on the expert motion. It was originally due today."
The court said, "Yes, that's fine."
Mr. Finkel said, "Thank you, Your Honor."
The court said, "All righty. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Thank you."
Adjourned to June 4, 2024, at 9 a.m.